Alright, just sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device. All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show, this special Friday night edition of the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Friday, January the 14th, 2022. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen. Or wave hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. I got to take my lights down. I just realized.
Thought you were doing your Nixon impersonation there.
Hello.
I am not a crook.
There you go.
Go to hell.
Yes, you are.
It's the middle of January, guys. What's going on here?
I don't know. All I know is that
why are we here on a Friday night?
The technical issues between the two gentlemen on this podcast that have Apple products tonight were ridiculous, and the non-technical issues for the one gentleman that has a PC and an older Dell laptop. That fine works fine.
No, it's a new Dell laptop.
New Dell. Oh, it's
Having said that, we would much prefer a sponsorship from Apple than Dell.
Should have went with older Dell laptop. I'm trying to put Apple down.
Oh yeah. Well, listen. By today's standards, it's older.
This is true. Hey.
Compared to your Apple products, it's new.
Exactly.
For the record, have nothing negative to say about Apple or its products. If you're listening, not to the podcast, but to my computer or my device that's sitting next to me.
That's the one thing that they're not listening to.
That's right.
Actually, my son uses an Apple, and he's very happy with it.
Yeah, so am I. Until other than this podcast.
Other than today, other than most days that I turn it on and it shits bad.
No, it works.
I'm
works
happy
fine for everything other than this fucking podcast. And it has to do with the fact that I have to do this on a Google browser with
Right. Yes. So, in any event,
and Google, if you are listening, fuck you.
There you go. StreamYard, you need to help us out here. You need to be a little bit more user-friendly for Apple users. So,
do you think it's the StreamYard to Apple connection, or is it the
I'm thinking it might be
Apple to Chrome connection?
Well, I
Maybe
think it's
does Chromium not play well with Apple?
Well, it's both, right? Because the only browser that it'll work with on Apple is Chrome. You can use you don't have to use Chrome on a PC. You can use Extreme Explorer, whatever the new version of Explorer is. When I use it on my Lenovo, it's fine. I can use the actual Microsoft browser, whatever the new Microsoft browser
right?
is.
Microsoft Edge?
Edge, yeah.
It's
fine.
We need to get our IT person on this.
So, yeah, I think, Jim, you want to get on
Yeah,
this?
sponsorship with
Jim Statistics, not IT.
matching
I thought he was
equipment
both.
would be nice.
No.
Well, that's his brother, who's also named Jim.
All right.
Right. Yes, exactly.
They're twins.
Let's certainly not talk about technical computer things because, I can't even fake my way through that like I can with the NHL.
not even possible. There. No, you want to do that? Yeah. All right. Just a couple of quick baseball things, and we'll jump into this
baseball.
nuttiness that is
Baseball.
the wrapping up of the NFL season and all that has happened this week since
starting.
Black Monday. It's just I'm not talking about the playoffs. I'm talking about the Black Monday and the rest of this week and the whole 9 yards. But in any event,
It's just another manic Monday.
Manic, there you go. Right. Who wrote that song?
Prince.
Prince did write that song.
Yes.
Very good. But a couple of baseball things. It looks like they had a meeting yesterday, the Players Association, Major League Baseball, or whatever. And one of the things that did pop up or whatever, nothing settled by any means, but one of the things that did pop up was that looks like the universal DH will indeed be a part of this year's season. So,
universal DH, it sounds like it's going to, have grab bars.
Right. Well, they're going to. Well, everybody's going to have to implement
turning radius.
Everybody's going to have to implement the DH. The NFL, the NBA, they're all going to have to implement the designated hitter.
That's right.
It's universal. So
it's universal.
But that's like the least. Wow, and
right.
We all expected that to happen.
If there's a baseball season, there will be a universal DH.
If there is indeed a baseball season, right? Now, the universal DH in football, would that be like steady quarterback? When you were playing on the playground, okay, you just be steady quarterback. And
play for both teams.
For both teams, yeah.
Right.
No, I think that would just be like you you put somebody in the end zone, and if the ball happens to go their way, then
they can catch it, and they're there already. They don't have to run
right.
there. Gotcha.
Right.
That makes sense, I suppose. All right, Mets-wise, they're retiring. They announced they're retiring Keith Hernandez's number 17 on Saturday, July 9th.
I'm surprised that it wasn't already done.
I'm surprised it wasn't already done either. And there's a few numbers they're actually talking about. They actually said that over the next couple of years they're going to retire a few other numbers. They did Koosman last year.
What was the last number to be retired prior to Hernandez?
Last year, Jerry Koosman.
Koosman.
Yeah.
Okay.
And look how long they waited to do that.
Took a while for the Coos to get.
Took a little while. Took just a little while.
Like
Schmidt's too long.
20 some odd years later, or almost
20,
20
like
years
40
later.
something.
40, yeah.
Well, no, but I mean,
Hernandez is 20 years now.
Yeah.
right? That's what I mean between when he played and when Koosman played.
Right.
Was
a
almost a
significant-
20-year difference. Yeah. Well,
Right,
10
so-
at first 10.
Yeah,
10
yeah.
or so.
But yeah, listen, they're just gonna. The Mets are still. They're very slowly getting stuff together, but they're still kind of a laughing stock. So when they need some good news, they'll retire a number of a beloved player, and
Exactly.
they'll trot that out, and hey, check it out.
Right. Exactly. But
Get some good press.
I mean,
Now, probably something stupid is going to come out next week about who they're hiring to do whatever, or some idiocy like that.
Right.
So they're going to bookend it with Hernandez, and then somebody else will get their number retired after the bad news comes out.
Right. Well, they're saying they're I mean, they've been saying that the whatchamacallit, Steve Cohen and that administration, if you are trying to right some wrongs that the Wilpons haven't done, So, but
Right.
Well, here's
event,
hoping.
like putting a winning
Lee
team on the
Mazzilli
field.
is next.
right. Well, they've been talking about there's another 3 names that they want to retire numbers.
Lenny Dykstra,
Right. Lenny Dykstra.
Benny Agbayani.
Mookie Wilson, and Lee Mazzilli.
Lee Mazzilli. No.
Vita Blue.
Vita Blue. There you go.
Didn't even play for the Mets. They're going to retire his number.
He's just going to retire his number. Why not?
Yeah,
He did play for the Mets, didn't he? Vita
think
Blue
he did,
briefly? Yeah.
So, but in any event, whatchamacallit, they're Gary Carter, Doc Gooden, and David Wright. They're going to retire those numbers too. One a year, I think they're going to do.
Right just finished playing, so.
Yeah, so they'll probably do his last. Get the other ones in after that. So they'll retire 8, 16, and 5.
They're going to run out of numbers soon.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, they are not anywhere near. I mean, they only have, other than Jackie Robinson, they only have 5 numbers retired.
No, that's probably 4.
Yeah,
More than should be.
No, that's not true. I mean,
Yeah,
they got.
I mean, Seaver's obviously.
Casey Stengel,
yeah.
Gil Hodges, Tom Seaver,
yeah.
Mike Piazza, and Jerry Koosman. And now will be Hernandez. So it'll be 6 numbers.
So there was
6 numbers plus Jackie Robinson.
They can just put letters on the jersey if they want to use the same.
They could do that. They could do that. If they run out of numbers, or they could put
they
1A,
could do 8,
1B,
Yeah, that's what I
1C.
mean. That's what I mean. 16B.
8.1.
Right.
8.1.
0.1 or 16 and a half.
Yeah.
16 and 3/4.
60 years from now,
You
they're
got
going to say,
unlimited fractions.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, they're going to the Mets are going to retire Miguel Hernandez's number today. Number 612.4 is the first decimal number to ever be retired by the organization.
Exactly. Well, you just go over 100, right? And instead of having 2 digits on the uniform or 1 or 2, you have 3. That's it. So, whatever. Is what it is. They'll figure it out. I mean, I don't think any of us are going to need to worry about any of that. About 200 years from now, they'll have to figure something out.
My number's never going to be retired.
I don't think. Well, I think it should be. I absolutely think it should be. So, don't you, Pete?
I'm
Think Harry's
all
number
in
should be
favor of
retired.
Harry retiring.
I tried tonight. You guys wouldn't let me.
We put the kibosh on that one.
Tried fucking hiding out here, pretending my computer didn't work, and it just didn't.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unplug this microphone. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know.
really-
Can't hear me. Oops.
I'm
guess
not a
I can't-
technical guy.
I guess I can't talk about Keith Hernandez tonight. Oops.
We got it. One thing on that universal DH, though, as far as the Mets go, I did read
we're back
something
to
that was
that.
pretty fun. I just want to throw it out there.
Keith Hernandez is going to be the Mets
Keith
universal
Hernandez
DH.
is going to be the DH.
Their honorary
That was part of the
opening day
It's part of the
number
deal.
retiring
Right,
agreement.
universal DH.
So no, they're talking about. Well, first of all, there was somebody put out there that they think the Mets should go after Kyle Schwarber now and get him into DH. When they have 19 DHs on a team,
Yeah, they don't
need
have enough
another
guys
one.
They'd like to keep out of the field.
Right, but then they said if they're going to wind up trading Dom Smith, they should have Pete Alonso be DH, not play first, and they should go out and get Freddie Freeman and have him play first. So I think they have plenty of people to do everything. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is Keith Hernandez, though, the first baseball player to ever appear on Seinfeld to have their number retired?
Number retired? That's an interesting.
I don't think Danny Tartabull ever got his number retired.
No, Danny Tartabull did not. No.
Just trying to think of what other ball players were on the show as themselves.
On Seinfeld or on any show?
On Seinfeld.
On Seinfeld.
Wasn't
Hernandez, obviously. That's the most famous one.
Sure.
You had Danny Tartabull.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there
wasn't
were
Paul.
more.
What's his name?
Paul O'Neill.
Paul O'Neill, right?
I think Paul O'Neill.
Yeah,
that'd be a good one. Maybe that could be our next week's top 10 list. Top 10 athletes to appear on Seinfeld.
There you go. All right. We could do that.
George Steinbrenner as Larry David as George Steinbrenner.
We'll have to. That'll be a special match. That'll be old balls. Because Larry David does indeed have old balls. So
I don't know about that. Maybe he's got some new ones. You never know.
True. Maybe he got new ones. That's true. Anyway, all right. And one thing on the Yankees, Rachel Bakovich. Congratulations to her. She is
the new universal DH for the New York Yankees.
Exactly. Yeah, she's going to manage the Yankees low A Tampa Tarpons.
Play a little second base too.
She's going to play second base a little bit, this year. So
good for her.
So the low A compared to is low A below single A?
Low A is below single A. Yeah.
I hope
low A. There's only 4 levels now. There used to be like 19 levels, and there used to be like 3 rookie ball teams, and then on from there. Now there's low A, double A, triple A.
All right. So here's a question.
So low A, high A, basically.
Here's what I would like our crack research staff to get on. How many current major league managers ever managed low A ball?
Well, look at how
many people on this
current or
knew
ever
knew that there was a team called the Tampa Bay Tarpons?
No,
I said it fast. I said Tarpa Tampons before like 3 times. I just came right. It just rolled out. It was easier to say that. You know how you say something and it's easy to say, like it flows, right?
No pun
Tarpa
intended.
Tampons. No pun. I didn't even think about that. Thanks.
A tarpa tampon.
Tarpa
flows and it
easier
goes.
than Tampa Tarpons. So, but
I hope she's available mid-season when Aaron Boone is 4 games under 500 and needs to be fired.
Coached. I was going to say how many current Major League Baseball managers appeared on Seinfeld. I mixed the two together.
How many current Major League managers coached
Seinfeld?
the Tarpa Tampons?
Coached low A.
I'd be interested to see.
And then we'll put Seinfeld there. Seinfeld is the other.
Well, good for her. I guess that's.
Oh, well, maybe next week we can follow up with the answer.
We'll follow up with the answer next week.
Yeah, there we go.
So, all right.
Well,
That gets us out. Hey, 13 minutes in, we're going to football. Look at that. Look at
right.
that. Works good. All right. Anybody else have anything on baseball before I move on?
No, I was just looking through the CBA obviously discussions, and do we really want a 14-team postseason in baseball?
No.
Fuck no.
I mean,
I already gave you how the seasons should be done.
I think we should go back to. I think we should go back to just a winner. The one wild card team, and then the whatchamacallit, the
division winners.
Divisional winners, and the top team plays the wild card team, and
1, 4, 2, 3.
That's it.
Yeah,
easy peasy. No wild card game. Nothing. Just right to the NLDS or ALDS, and then right to divisional series, right to the championship series, and then World Series. That's it. But they'll never happen because it's money. They're losing money.
Yeah. No,
the more games, they want money. It's all the TV contracts. It's all the advertising.
All right.
So cool. All right. So
I was pretty sure the answer was no all the way around.
Yeah.
I just wanted to double check.
The answer is no, but it's never going to happen. So
yeah.
And I'm sure if you ask the majority of people that watch baseball, they'll agree with you, but it's never going to happen.
They're going to have a raffle, too, that one team just randomly that didn't make the playoffs will get in. Just by the pick of the draw.
Just like a lottery. The
universal DH gets to pick.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Listen, here's the thing. If you're like a huge baseball fan, right, even that person probably doesn't want that many teams because there's too many games.
Right.
Yeah.
The playoffs start, you have to like shut down your life if you want to watch everything. You kind of have to shut down your life to watch baseball because it's on.
You're gonna have like a game on at like noon on a Tuesday on like
you're
C-SPAN.
gonna
there's gonna be one game on
this
TBS, another one on C-SPAN, one on 5.
10:30 in the morning until
you're not gonna be able to find them.
10:30 in the morning until midnight at night on Saturday. You're going to be
That's
watching playoff baseball. Which
C-SPAN is going to air a game, and the Speaker of the House is going to call it.
That's right. It's going to be on Hulu or something. It's like I don't even know.
Oh no, they're all of the playoffs. They're going to start switching a lot of games too. What is it?
Instagram Live.
Thursday Night Football is which was on Fox all this year, and it was also on the NFL Network. It's going to stay on the NFL Network, but it's on Prime next year. You're not going to get it on Fox. If you don't have the NFL Network, you have to watch it on Prime, Amazon Prime. That's the only way you're watching Thursday Night Football is on the NFL Network or Amazon Prime. That's it next year.
Oh, gosh. Well, that's not the only way.
Well, you got the NFL Network. You're watching on the NFL Network, but you're not watching it on Fox.
There are ways to watch it without having that service.
You know what I'm just saying. But
yeah.
that's ideally what they're
I need
going.
a 16-year-old to show me how to do that.
They're going with the streaming services. It's going to be.
I can show you. Surprisingly,
you can. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. So, all right.
As long as we can get an internet connection that holds up.
It doesn't work all that.
That's pretty easy as long as we just use normal means.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah. So
all right, on to football.
On to football. We're going to start it out with the quiz. Here we go. This week's quiz. Here we go. This week we're going back to 1960 to 1980. We're doing linebackers, folks. Linebackers.
Ooh.
Best 4 linebackers from 1960.
Vintage old school linebackers.
Vintage linebackers. There you go. We're doing best 4 linebackers from 1960 to 1980. I'm going to give you 6. Got to keep 4. You got to get rid of 2. So here we go, folks.
I got to get paper here.
Get your paper out. Get your paper out. Get your pens out.
Dun, 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 dun,
we should have some music. We should do some music for this. Dun, dun, dun,
all right, go ahead.
Jeopardy music. By that.
Fired up.
Here we go. I'm giving you 6. Not down there. I'm giving you 6. You got to keep 4. Get rid of 2. Here we go.
Yeah, you're giving me 6.
Nick Buonicani.
Nicky
Go on. Oh,
wait. Nick Buonicani.
I'll wait till the end. To tell you the other one I'm
giving you all Patriots and Dolphins. That's all I'm giving you. So he's getting rid of all 6. There you go.
Nicky B. All right, come on.
There we go. Nick. Ironically, he was both Nick Buonicani. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right, Chuck Howley. I know you're keeping him. All right.
Who?
Yeah, right. Dick Butkus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
got high standards.
I might have to keep 3.
Right. Jack Ham. Teddy Hendricks.
The Stork.
The Mad Stork.
Mad Stork.
That's right.
And Randy Gradishar. So once again, Nick Buonicani, Chuck Howley, Dick Butkus, Jack Ham, Ted Hendricks, and Randy Gradishar. Peter, kick it off, please.
All right, Buonicani, you're gone. Sorry.
Shocker.
Butt kiss my butt. You're done.
Really?
Yeah. I don't like him.
All right.
Actually, he's kind of mellowed over the years.
Has he?
You didn't like him as it's only because you know him as the guy in the commercials.
Yeah, he's not really as big of a jackass as he was portrayed.
Right. So you're getting Buonicani and Butkus, or are you rethinking Butkus?
I don't know.
Want us to come back to you?
No, I'll keep Howley because I don't know anything about him.
He played for your favorite team.
Your Cowboys. Right?
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't mean I know anything about him.
There you go. All right.
I wasn't a Cowboys fan until the 70s.
Well, he played in the 70s. Chuck Howley, Jack Ham, Teddy Hendricks, and Randy Gradishar you're keeping, correct?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Harry?
It's tough. Chuck Howley was pretty damn good. Obviously, all of these guys were pretty darn good.
It's hard. You can't go wrong with any 4.
Buonicani played more in the AFL, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
2-time Pro Bowler,
6-1. I mean, the history goes back to whatever. I mean, it's not necessarily have to be NFL. Just
I know. I'm just saying. So he was basically almost like an 8-time Pro Bowler, Nick Buonicani.
Yeah, Yeah, I
He
mean,
was a very good player.
between the Patriots and the Dolphins, he was a beast. So,
I mean, I want to keep Randy Gradishar on here just because,
the Denver connection.
But
What a great name.
I mean, Ted Hendricks was a 4-time Super Bowl champion and 8-time Pro Bowler.
So you're keeping him.
Jack Ham, you got to keep on there.
Right.
Can't get rid of him.
Who did you get rid of, Pete?
You didn't get rid of Ham. You got rid of Howley and you got rid of Butkus and
Butkus and Bonticandi. The Bees, they're gone.
The two Bs are gone.
The two Bees.
This is a hard one.
It's tough, right?
Butkus, I mean, wasn't he like a 12-time Pro Bowl?
Sure, all these guys where it's hard to get rid of. Like I said, you're not going to go wrong getting rid of any, keeping any 4 of these.
8-time Pro Bowler Dick Butkus, 5-time all Pro, first team All Pro.
I mean, if I was going to be honest and realistic about this, instead of me, probably it would be Gradishar, and maybe Howley would be the ones who would go.
Howley was pretty darn.
He was
prolific.
He was, but Bonacati was pretty damn good too.
I mean, Randy Gradishar is a 7-time Pro Bowler.
I know.
And he played for the Broncos at a time when they did not have much of a national spotlight on them.
Sure,
that's a good list, John.
Yeah,
thank you.
I mean, you can't get rid of Dick Butkus. I'm going to go Nick Bonacani and I guess Chuck Howley.
So you keep Butkus, Ham, Hendricks, and Gradishar.
Yeah. It's close.
You can't go wrong with any 4 of them. But
no, I mean, it makes. I would have to do a deep, analytical search to really justify any of that.
Exactly.
But I mean, Jack Ham and Butkus are probably 2 of the best ever to play the game. I would say Hendricks and Gradishar are probably 2 of the most underrated of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And Bonacani. I mean, I feel bad for Chuck Howley cutting him. Sorry, Chuck, but
there you go.
That's my choice.
There you go. All right, there we have it. That is our quiz for this week.
I love you, Chuck, even if I don't know who you are.
Exactly.
You know who he is. He's on our list of he was like in the top 5 or 6 deep Cowboys of all time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on to let's continue with the NFL. I should move on to it. Let's start off with the 300-pound elephant in the room, and that, of course, would be the
Stop calling me an elephant.
Football Giants.
Yeah, I'm more of a rhinoceros, my friend.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
We're mixed bag of pachyderm.
Mixed bag of pachyderm.
I'm thick all the way through.
I'll be the hippo.
All right.
Oh, you're not taking that bait, Harry?
No. I was going to say that's not what she said.
It took me 2 days to craft that line.
That's not what I heard. I heard one of your trunks is rather hollow.
Well,
That's funny. All right. Writing that time down because that's going to be an intro.
All right. So, is it Judge? Is it?
It's
you
Judge.
guys should be ecstatic, shouldn't
you?
Yeah,
of course. I mean, let's
absolutely.
Look, I said this on. I think I texted to both of you. I said this on I said it on Sunday, and then I reiterated it again on Tuesday when I get fired. Whatchamacallit? Those 2 plays on Sunday, those 2 quarterback sneaks in a row, were this generation's equivalent of the Pizarchik fumble back in the
It was worse than that.
And it was worse, yeah. Absolutely.
I want to ask you a question. Do you think I really do I think that the Flores firing and
shocking.
Shocking.
Yeah.
But I think that the availability of Flores
mm-hmm.
pushed the Giants to a quicker decision on getting rid of Joe Judge.
I totally agree with that. Completely agree with that. And I also
I think the Giants are already hot on Flores' ass.
I believe they are. And I did read a couple of different people were putting reports out that Steve Tisch actually pushed John Mara into firing him. Whether it had anything to do with Flores or not, pushed him into.
Right. I think they had to.
Call. They had to.
But I mean, the sad part about Joe Judge is he has not had the last He does not have the worst record of the last 3 Giants coaches.
No, but Pat he by a game.
Right.
Yeah, Pat Shermer was 9-23. He was 10-23.
Wow. So we've had 3 coaches in 6 years, and they've all been in the top 5 worst coaches in the history of the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think he got fired because there was so much other availability? In other words, if not quite so many guys had gotten fired, then maybe they would have kept him.
Well, let's look who got fired. Let's look really quick who got fired. There's 8 head coaching vacancies right now.
Right.
6 came this week. 2 were available already.
Right.
Joe Judge got fired. Matt Nagy from Chicago got fired. Mike Zimmer in Minnesota got fired. Vic Fangio out in Denver got fired. Flores got fired. Culley got fired in Houston yesterday.
Yeah.
And then Urban Meyer got fired a month or so ago, and Gruden obviously got fired a few months ago.
Right.
Now that doesn't mean that the Raiders position is open, because Bisaccia has done a great job. So
yeah, he might be coach of the year.
Got him to the damn playoffs. If they go deep
Right.
in the playoffs, even if they don't make the Super Bowl, if they win this weekend, they'd be stupid not to offer them the job. Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
But
that one's also a little bit different though, because Gruden didn't get fired at the end of the season because he sucked. He got fired.
And Gruden didn't get fired for performance. He got fired because
right. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. I couldn't think of the word performance.
Right, exactly. So, but in that regard, the only one of these coaches that I can see actually getting a job next year, honestly, is maybe Zimmer, but is Brian Flores.
I think the other ones will go back to being
the coordinators. They'll coordinate somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to hire Nagy, right? Yeah.
Nobody's hiring.
Although
Matt
Nagy hasn't been, that first couple years there, he brought him to the playoffs.
He went to the playoffs. Yeah.
But they still weren't a good team.
Yeah,
I mean,
but does he? I mean, he. And look, the guy in Houston, that poor guy. I mean,
it was 1 year.
I think he might probably have as good a.
Yeah, has anybody done a better job than him?
Yeah, he might. He was a sacrificial lamb. He was put in an impossible situation, and I don't think they ever intended to keep him for more than 1 year. But I mean, did he do at least an admirable job given what he had? I mean, he didn't do a terrible job.
I don't think he did. Based on what he had to work with, I think he actually did
I think
he did a great job, actually. To be honest,
here in Denver,
he might get another job before almost anyone other than Flores, maybe.
I
Zimmer
think
was probably the other guy.
I think what made the Giants feel more comfortable in justifying the Judge firing was the fact that a guy like Fangio and a guy like Flores were fired. Guys who weren't horrible. I mean, Fangio kicked himself by getting Pat Shermer as coordinator. Right. I mean, the Broncos are a good defensive team. Their offense is just atrocious. And between Elway's inability to sort of have any idea what an NFL quarterback looks like, and Shermer taking an already sort of anemic offense and muddling it up even more, I think Fangio made a bad decision in his choice of coordinators. Right. I don't think Fangio is a bad coach. Do I think he's a better defensive coordinator somewhere down the road? Yeah. I also think that maybe, just maybe, Nick Fangio's time in the NFL is up.
Right.
I think he might retire. I just think, he just seems a little – there's old school and there's old. And I'm not talking about age or anything like that. I'm just talking about mentality-wise. And I just think that –
he's from a different era.
He's from a different era, and that era, unfortunately, because I like Nick. I kind of was hoping maybe Fangio would stay, but we'll see what happens. I think Flores is obviously the going to be the hot topic. There's talk about his personality and some of the internal squabbles there. I was really surprised because Miami's an interesting team that I think he did more with what he was given than any coach in the NFL.
They were one. If they beat the Pats, they beat the Pats both games, didn't they?
They beat them twice.
They beat them twice. If they won, was it? I think if they won one more game and the Pats lost one more game, they'd be in the playoffs right now.
Well, if they didn't really suck,
and they went 10-6 last year. Yeah,
I mean, they went 1-8 to start the year.
1-6, I think, or 1-7.
1-7. Okay, so
I mean. So had they won another one or two of those games and did what they did down the stretch, they'd be in the playoffs right now. And
they were one game behind the Patriots.
Yeah, and they were 10-6 last year. I think it's absolutely absurd that they fired Brian Flores.
Well, let me ask you guys this: being Giant fans, Giants at this point having hired a couple of neophytes and failed miserably, and now having the third coach who lasted 2 years or less straight, they have to fire someone with head coaching experience. Now,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
They
Absolutely
cannot
do.
go back to give somebody else their first NFL head.
Although
coaching
if you look at all the news reports of who is the top 10 candidates for the Giants job, other than Flores, there's very few that have head coaching experience.
Well, that's kind of why I want to bring it up. Like we've got these guys that are fired, but does anybody want any of them, or do you look for somebody who was a head coach and then maybe this past year went back to being a coordinator because they failed as a head coach?
Right.
Where do you look?
Of the guys who were fired, the only one that I'm interested in, and I'm still a little skeptical on him, but I do like him, is Flores. He's the only one that I think should even be an option. Giant.
Well, there's a couple other names too.
There's a lot of
this year.
names.
Okay, you got Brian Flores is on the list, right?
Right.
Jim Harbaugh's name has been thrown out there consistently.
Which I don't like.
I don't like it either, but
I just don't think.
And I honestly don't think he's leaving Michigan anyway. But that's besides the point. Doug Peterson. That name's popped up.
I don't like Doug Peterson.
Like 3 days in a row, the name's popped.
I don't like any coach who wears a visor in December.
Well, his hair's warm.
And who apparently throws games.
It throws games, right?
But
to keep the Giants out of the playoffs.
But he did win a Super Bowl.
He did win a Super Bowl.
There's a lot of coordinators on this list. On this list, including, from all the teams you would expect coordinators to be. The real question mark is: do the Giants go for an offensive guy or do they go for a defensive guy?
Yeah. Let's see. McAdoo was an offensive guy. Shermer was an offensive guy, and Joe Judge was a special teams guy. So,
and they excelled in the field goal. I mean, look.
Maybe they got a kicker guy, or that's special.
They did really well kicking field goals.
There you go.
Yeah, their special teams was not terrible.
Yeah. I think you got to look at Brian Flores. I really do.
How many kickoff returns did they give up for touchdowns this year?
Well, there's
0.
There's another name too. Let's rewind a little bit. Obviously, Gettleman retired.
Yeah.
Those of you listening to the audio podcast, I just used air quotes. On Monday.
I thought it was Jazz Hands.
Jazz Hands. This is Jazz Hands.
Okay.
This is air quotes, right?
Please don't both of you don't ever do that in tandem again. That was terrifying.
That was bad. I know. Anyway, but they've interviewed a bunch so far. Let's really quick. They interviewed. I got to pull this up here, and there we go. They've interviewed. Come on. There you go. You can load. You can do it. I know you can. You got it. There you go. Good job. All right. They interviewed Joe Sheen from Buffalo. He's the current assistant GM in Buffalo. 20 years in the NFL, 5 with previous 5 with the Bills.
We're talking about the GM position now.
G is for GM. Yeah. They interviewed Adrian Wilson. He's currently the VP of Pro Personnel for Arizona. He played with Arizona, too, and he's in his 7th season with Arizona's scouting department as Vice President of Pro Personnel. They interviewed Quentin Harris, who's also a VP of Pro Personnel with the Cardinals. They interviewed Ryan Poles, who's currently the Executive Director of Player Personnel for the Chiefs. They interviewed 2 others. Hold on. Ryan Cowden, who's currently the Vice President of Player Personnel for the Titans.
And Robert De Niro.
And they interviewed Bobby De Niro. Yes.
Bobby D. Just for the
hell of it. Yeah. They interviewed Monty Ossenfort, who is the Director of Player Personnel for the Titans. So now
for the
Titans. Now, the overwhelming consensus is the Giants are most hot on Joe Sheen from Buffalo. And he's got the best resume. He's done a lot more work in the front office work, and obviously a hell of a job too up in Buffalo. But based on that, and this is why I brought that up, there's a lot of people that are saying that they might be looking at going with Brian Daboll, who was a big name for filling coaching vacancies last year and never left the Bills, and he's their offensive coordinator, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. I like him.
I like him too. But again, here's somebody else that's not tested. It's a name that's not. It's a guy that has not been a head coach before.
Well, I mean, let's look at that for a second though, because who's out there that has successful head coaching experience that would be a fit with the Giants?
Well, I mean, the first three. I mean, Flores. I mean, he's had some success,
Well,
and he's
of
got
course, we already
experience,
talked
3 years
I'm
experience.
saying besides Flores, yeah.
Harbaugh, if they do lure him away from college, he went to a Super Bowl and went to 2 or 3 NFC Championship games. He's Peterson won a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Zimmer went to the playoffs a few times and went to an AFC championship.
Yeah, my question was, I know the ones that we already talked about. I'm saying who else is out
else.
there
Nobody else. Yeah.
I mean,
available that I'm aware of. Nobody, unless somebody's coming out of retirement. That
I wish we could get what's his name out of the announcers booth. Why is his name? The ex-Steelers coach. Yeah,
Bill Cowher.
Yeah,
Bill Cowher. Yeah.
Well, here, let me ask you this: is if I mean Flores is assumedly going to be a hot commodity, right?
Right.
But the Giants, they need a GM.
Right.
You don't want to hire the coach first. You got to hire the GM. So
you got to hire the GM first. But
doesn't that kind of push them? They need to make a decision if everybody's.
I got a feeling the reason they hired
be a handful of teams on Flores' ass. Then
I got a reason they went ahead and did as many interviews this week as they did with people to get a feel of what's out there and available. There's a couple names on the list that I actually was shocked that they didn't interview, unless they're going to continue more interviews next week. But I don't think anybody's hiring a head coach this weekend. And to be quite honest with you, if they can interview whoever they want, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if they talk to Joe Sheen, let's say they talk to Joe Sheen and say, hey, look, you have the biggest beat on the job. Are you interested? Blah, blah, blah. They could be behind the scenes talking about it. We're going to do our due diligence and go interview a few more guys. Something pops up, we'll let you know. But would you be interested? What are your thoughts on Brian Flores? If he, and they could be asking everybody that, for that matter.
Well, right. Well, right. How much of their requirements are, if we get Flores, are you cool with that? Right. Because if that's the guy they want and they're going to be able to get him, their GM's got to be good with it. You don't want to.
Yeah.
But those guys have to sort of kind of know that going in too, right?
Exactly.
The guys that are interviewing for the GM job, they're going to go, well,
Flores is already.
I'm going to walk in, and maybe Flores is their first pick. Maybe he's not their first pick.
Maybe he's not.
I think there's a reason why
do?
Flores got fired. I mean, there's something there.
Well, personality
wise, yes, he performed well, but the Dolphins aren't just going to get rid of somebody who, there was rumors that obviously Harbaugh was teed up to be, the Dolphins coach due to his relationship with their front office. But I don't think that's the case. I think there's something there.
Well, let's put it this way. Bottom line, let's just hope the Giants finally, after way too many years of this bullshit, get it right with both hires.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it. I think they're in a position that makes it very difficult for them. Maybe not. Maybe nobody's in a hurry.
Well, you got to remember, there's a few other look. Minnesota. I believe Minnesota got rid of their GM too, right? And which we call it. Chicago got rid of their GM. So there's a few of these coaching vacancies also need GMs that we're going to hire GMs before they hire head coaches too.
Sure.
So it's not like like everybody else is going to grab all these coaches up while the Giants hire a GM. There's other people doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So.
My point is, if you are a head coach, or you were recently a head coach, and you're not right now, and somebody offers you a job, you're not going to necessarily, unless it's your dream job to go to the Giants, you're not going to wait for them to hire their GM.
And if you
get
offered a job, well, it depends on the situation too. If you get offered a job that you really don't want, you can say, "Hey, no," I mean.
Oh yeah, of course. But if you're, my point is, if you're a hot commodity and you're going to get multiple offers, most likely, unless we find out something terrible about Flores, Well,
the other thing that makes the Giants more desirable, even at this particular point, is that they're getting a new GM, so whoever the head coach is gets to work from the ground floor with this new GM. That's number one. Right. Number two, they have plenty of really good draft capital this year, clearly. And three, it's New York. If they can come in here and be the one that turns this mess around and gets it going, they're going to be sainted, So, at least knighted.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's to me, it seems like it's an increasingly shrinking time
Sure.
frame to
Well, it is
hire,
too.
you know, the two most
Well, I
important
mean, there's a couple other names out there, not connected necessarily with the Giants, just connected with head coach vacancies or whatever, and that's Eric Bieniemy, because every year he's mentioned in those words,
right?
And they believe that after what the Bucs have done the last few years, that Todd Bowles is going to get another shot at being head coach. So,
Okay. Enjoy that if that happens.
I didn't say the Giants. I just said in general.
Well, no, I'm saying if that happened, if the Giants hired Todd Bowles, I'm sorry.
Giants aren't hiring Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles was in their building for how many years? So,
yeah,
well, with the other team, but in their building,
I mean, look, there's even chatter.
Right.
There's even been chatter about Josh McDaniel. Obviously, I think Josh McDaniel waits it out there to become the heir apparent. But
right.
But look. Why are we not talking about either of the coordinators on the Titans? Why are we not talking about any of the coordinators on the Pittsburgh Steelers? It's interesting how these names come up, and then usually it's somebody that's not even on this list that winds up getting these jobs.
Right.
So we'll see.
I think
I don't think
for me right now, if I had to pick, and I'm not 100% sold, I'm close, but I'm not 100% sold. But if I had to pick right now, today, right this second, I would want Brian Flores.
I like that too. I like him, or was it Dabo? Who's the
Brian Dable?
Dable, those are my two.
I don't mind. I would like that as well. They would be my top two as well. They would be.
I mean, it's not like it's a bumper crop of ex-coaches who all have pretty good resumes that you go, any one of these guys would probably work.
Right.
It's kind of a select list.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
That's why they got fired.
Let's wrap up some season conversation with the Giants here. And let's talk about, and for specific players, here we go. Let's move on to, are they keeping Daniel Jones? Does Daniel Jones get another year? Does he get another year?
Yes.
Whoever the GM, whoever the coach is, does he get another year?
Yeah, I mean,
will he be on the team, you mean?
Here's his.
Will he be the starter?
This is an option
year. With the starter, yeah. Here's this is his option year. This is an option. This is year 4. He would have to get the 5th-year option after this year, so he can come back and play this year without anything.
Yeah, unless they trade him, there's no trade value to him, so he's gonna be on the team.
Right.
Well, the question is, will he be the starting quarterback?
Will he be the starting quarterback? Will he be the starting quarterback?
Look, I hope no, and I think that this is where the GM and the coach need to come in and make a big move.
He in his career so far with the Giants in 3 seasons. Okay, 3 seasons. Yeah,
inside
3 seasons.
the numbers.
He has played 38 games. Okay, out of a possible 49. All right.
That's not terrible for a quarterback.
It's not terrible.
And doesn't have a good offensive line.
Right. He has played 38 games. He's thrown for 8,398 yards in 3 years. Not terrible numbers.
Right,
so Aaron Rodgers did this year.
Right.
2,000 and change.
Pretty much. Just shy of 3. Just a little, like 200 shy of, like 20, around 2,800. A year.
So anything close to 3 is pretty good, right?
He's thrown 45 touchdown passes in 3 years. He has thrown 29 interceptions. All right, 45 TDs, 29 interceptions. But if you take into consideration his entire turnovers are 49,
right?
29 of them were interceptions. Do you keep him? Does he?
So he's roughly. So he's close to 3,000. 10 or so touchdowns a year.
15 touchdowns a year.
Okay.
45, so 15 touchdowns a year.
These numbers mean absolutely nothing because he is horrible.
Yeah. Well, and what's
the
win? What's the win-loss? That's the number you look at.
Yeah, that's the number you want to look at. And I think any quarterback in this league can throw for 3,000 yards, and it does not mean a damn thing.
Right. Exactly. Well, let's look at some options.
He was a horrible draft choice, and he has turned out to be just as bad as I thought he would be when they ruined the pick on him.
I think you're right when you look at the wins and losses, but my point is, is he producing anything? In other words, what's his win-loss record? 12 and 31 or something.
Probably something like that, yeah.
So if he had 10 extra wins with these same kind of numbers, you go, well, he's not good, but maybe he's passable. Or, if he was a little closer to the 500 or even 400 or something like that. Right. But it just doesn't, his performance, while not, the numbers aren't shaming, it just doesn't add up to wins.
Right.
No, the Giants need to go out and get a quarterback.
He's terrible.
Well, on that note, now that you said that, Harry, Deshaun Watson would be great,
Well,
but they're not going to go out and get him because John Mara will never hire anybody that has the issues that he has off the field. Unless he's completely exonerated by, time to make a trade
Which
for him. But
can never. I mean, legally can happen, but in the minds of people,
it's not going to change.
Although you know what, if he shows up and plays well, then fans have short memories.
Exactly.
Unless they hire Michael Vick as head coach.
There you go. Colin Cowherd.
I don't know if he's the masseuse coordinator for Deshaun Watson.
I don't know if you saw what Colin Cowherd said about the Giants. He said the Giants should give 10 years of number 1 picks to Seattle to get Russell Wilson.
Well, Colin Cowherd's a little bit of a we're
a moron.
Extremist.
Potato, potato.
Yeah, I mean,
I would quibble with a little bit of
the only reason why I would justify that statement with Colin Cowherd is because the New York Giants in these past 10 years have done nothing with their first round picks.
Yeah.
I mean, they've wasted a lot of them. The question is, look, do I think Russell Wilson is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL? No. Do I think he's top 10? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Russell Wilson has excelled when he was on a team that was defensive oriented, ran the ball, and allowed him to make plays that he did. If you looked at the Super Bowl years of Russell Wilson, his numbers are not going to astound you. But at the eye test tells you that in a system like that, on a team that can keep the game close, he's a big-time playmaker,
Right.
And I still think he has a few years left on the tires.
Yeah.
Do you trade the farm for him? No,
you don't.
But if it's a couple picks and maybe a couple other players that the Giants have had that they've gone out and spent a lot of money on that have also underperformed, I'm not just going to throw Daniel Jones under the bus. There's been a lot of these big name receivers the Giants have also just underperformed.
Right.
So
take one of the first round picks this year, one of the second round picks this year, and one of the second round picks from next year because they have that capital.
Well,
and Daniel Jones.
What if they want your 2 first rounders from this year as part of that package?
And that's
it. No, and then a couple of players and maybe a second rounder next year or whatever for Russell Wilson.
Yeah, depending on who those players are. I mean, look. There's 2 or 3 Giant players that you don't want to trade,
right?
But other than that,
and they're not going to want any. And they're not going to want any. And they're not going to want anybody else but them. So
let's say it's a first round pick, a second round pick, and Evan Ingram.
I make that trade.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Seattle makes that trade though.
I don't think they do, but I'll make that trade.
But here's the other question. Like, if you're going to bring in a GM, you're going to bring in a head coach. You've got, what is it? 6 and what are your picks this year?
5 and 7.
5 and 7. All right, those are good.
Or 5 and 8. 5 and 7 or 5 and 8, something like that.
Do you use those to let those guys, right? Because assumingly they're going to work in tandem. It's they're going to want to bring in the same guys or have the same plan. You're coaching your GM,
right?
Do you let them do what you hired them to do, which is build this team, build your offensive line? Okay. So Daniel Jones is your quarterback next year, and then he's gone. That experiment is over, whatever. And then you give them a year to build the protection for whoever your next quarterback is, or use one of those picks on an offensive line, use one of those picks on the defensive line, or wherever those holes are. You don't need receivers. I don't know who.
They need to use, honestly, when it comes right down to it, the bottom line, they need to use both of those first-round picks on offensive linemen. Because there's good offensive linemen.
So give them a chance to do that, and then you worry about the quarterback, and it's only 1 year.
They need offensive linemen.
Then hamstring those guys with no picks in the first round, maybe for the next 2 years, or only 1 or whatever. And you've got Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson is getting older. If you can't protect him either, he's not going to do much.
The Giants need to run the ball. The other person I'll throw out there as trade, and look, I like him. I think he's great. I think the Giants were in a situation where they probably had to draft him at the time. Mm-hmm. But if one of those names that comes up for a top quarterback is Saquon Barkley, then you trade him. Because I do think that if you have the right offensive line components and the right offensive game plan, I think that in this league, it's less about the running back itself and more about the offensive line,
right,
and the scheme in which they run behind them. Now, the only reason why we're talking about Russell Wilson is because he's really the only big name quarterback that's potentially, and we're not even really 100% sure, but he's the only potential quarterback that's going to be available. I don't. If if the Green Bay Packers win the Super Bowl this year, then I think we're going to have an entire offseason of whether or not Aaron Rodgers is just going to retire. Right. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is coming to the Giants. Other than that, what free agent quarterbacks are out there? None.
Yeah.
No. And this is not a deep draft year for this. You're not going to find a Joe Burrow in this year's draft.
This isn't a quarterback year. So.
It is an offensive lineman year, though, and there's
a very good offensive lineman.
So do that. Keep the loser behind.
Build your trenches. Go out and get another. Go out and get a. You got Andrew Thomas. Go get 2 good offensive linemen. Trade for another. Build out from what you have, and get your brick wall finally together. And then they'll have a year playing together. Make your improvements this year wherever else you got to make them. Yeah. And then, hey, if for some reason with those plays and by the end of this season, Daniel Jones finally looks like, oh my God, well, holy shit, yeah, he actually is good. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm just saying, like, hypothetically speaking, that's a different story. But if what most likely will happen happens, and he falls by the wayside or whatever, then you address the quarterback next year, whether it's in the draft or a trade or whatever at that point. So
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I feel excited about Russell Wilson, but I don't feel, it's not like, oh yeah, this is the game changer.
Look, like the Giants are not a year away, and how many more years is Russell Wilson playing? Right, he was drafted 11 drafts ago. All right, so he's 30. So that makes him 33.
He's 33. Yeah.
He's 33. So is he going to play till 45 or is he going to play till 37? So that's 4 years. Where the Giants
you get 4 years, maybe 4 good years out of him. I mean,
you get 4 good years out of him. Maybe they make the Super Bowl and then he retires and you're back in the same spot.
Well, if you give him a good offensive line,
that's fine.
If you can protect him, then he'll probably hang around for a while.
You win you just rattled off the sentence. You get 4 great years out of Russell Wilson. You win a Super Bowl, and you're back to having to find another quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
That's fine.
Let's fucking do it.
Nope, I want 2 Super Bowls or the deal is off.
I'm in it. I'm in, yeah.
Well, he could be in 2 Super Bowls, but the second one he's going to almost win, but then he's going to end up having to throw a pass instead of running the ball.
Then he'll run instead of passing in an obvious way.
The other way, yeah.
And I think you're right about Barkley. You don't run the ball to set up the pass anymore.
No.
You pass the ball
to set the
loosen
run.
things up so that you can pick up 4 yards to carry with a running back.
And let's.
Oh well, I mean, I think you have to look at some of the teams that have been very successful this year. I mean, no one is talking about the number 1 seed in the AFC, which is a run first, and they're doing it with. Yes, Derrick Henry was a big part of that, but they're doing it without Derrick Henry now too. Okay, if you look at some of these teams, look at the New England Patriots. Look at some of these teams that have had young quarterbacks or maybe not the most dynamic quarterback. Right. They've been able to have success by playing kind of old school football. I mean, you're even seeing the return on some of these teams of a fullback, of a blocking back. I mean, look, I'm just looking at the Giants and what I was not as excited as everybody else with all these receivers that the Giants had, because I just didn't feel like they had the big playmakers or the offensive chemistry to get those guys in the position to be the most successful that they could be. So I still think, yes, the Giants need to improve their passing game, but do I see the Giants being a deep threat, Kansas City Chiefs type of offense in the near future? No.
Right.
So, and if you're going to go out, okay, and you have to build your team around your quarterback. You have to build your offense around what their capabilities are. And,
they have to have capabilities in order.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
on that question, though. Okay, yeah. Do the Giants extend Saquon Barkley? Because he has to be extended. He has to get the 5th year. I don't think they did it already.
I mean, who had more yards this year, Saquon
Jones?
Daniel Jones.
No, well, Daniel Jones did have a lot of. Let's give him credit where credit's due.
Yeah, that is an aspect of his game.
Yeah. Who was the Giants' second string running back?
Devontae Booker.
Yeah, I mean who averaged more yards per carry?
I think Booker did.
Booker did.
Saquon Barkley's numbers. He played in 13 games. He had 162 carries for 593 yards. It's 3.7 yards per carry and 4 TDs. That's it. That was his year.
To me, Barkley is. Barkley could almost be trade bait for somebody who thinks, oh, he's got it. He was so great. He didn't have a line or wasn't used right in the Giants or whatever. He could be a piece for our team that could get us into the playoffs or whatever.
And then he goes there and becomes that piece.
Right. And maybe he does, but maybe he never becomes that piece on the Giants. Right. So, but they have to pay him for next year, right? This was it's his 5th year.
This is his 5th year. No, this past year was his 4th year.
Okay, so right. So
they just got to give him the option for the for the 5th year. They might. I don't think.
So he might. To me, he might end up being worth more as trade bait than.
Well, they'd have to extend him and then trade him.
Yeah, which they might do.
Yeah.
My gut tells me that Russell Wilson is not coming to the Giants, and that the Giants, Daniel Jones will be the Giants quarterback. They will extend Jones's contract, and they will extend Barkley. And the reason for it is that there's just not, unless the Giants can pull together some sort of major trade. But let's take the top 5-10 quarterbacks, the game changers in the league. I don't see any of them other than Wilson being unhappy with where they are, where you're going to get them, and all of a sudden you're going to have this, top 10 quarterback. I just don't see it.
No.
They're all embedded in where they are. I mean,
Agreed.
It's just, I think it is what it is. So let's get some big boys up front and let's run the ball.
Yeah, I think that ought to be the plan.
I think that's got to be the plan. Yeah, I agree. All right. Only other thing I wanted to mention on the Giants is that, this is indeed the 5th head coach in 8 seasons, technically the 6th head coach if you include Steve Spagnuolo for the 3 games that he was the interim coach. But it's they got to do it right this time.
They don't have to do anything.
They don't. But
we hope they do it right. The odds of them doing it right are not necessarily all that high.
They have to get it right, or they won't.
Or they remain the Giants.
Or they remain the Or I was going to say, or they remain the Jets, but no.
The Jets are actually
the old Jets, not the current Jets, the old Jets. But there was TMZ actually posted pictures too. Joe Judge had a huge order of beer and pizza delivered to the house. What's funny though, he ordered, I believe I saw in the picture, 4 30-packs of Mick Ultra, 2 15-packs of Coors Light, and a box of wine, but only 5 pizzas.
Was that for all the ex-Giants that want to play for him?
I guess he must have having a pizza beer party or whatever.
For his next press conference.
For an ex-Giants party?
He did put out a heartfelt thank you to all the fans and people and giving him the opportunity. But, he'll land on his feet. Don't worry. Land on his feet. He's got another 3 years of $5 million checks coming to him.
Yeah.
So
that's why he got the box.
I think he'll be fine.
Well, I mean, look, I just think the Giants went out on a really big. I think the Giants have went out and made some really big moves that were highly questionable and probably big risks, high risks.
John Mara said this is, in his presser the other day, he said this is the most embarrassed of a Giants team he's ever been in his life. Obviously, his life's been the Giants, but yeah. All right, let's move on to some Jets talk.
Another team from Jersey.
The other team from Jersey, New York, right? I don't know how that lawsuit's going. You did hear about that, right?
Yeah.
So.
I think it's going nowhere.
Nowhere. Right, so.
It's
a class action lawsuit, but Harry, you and I can't get in on that. Pete, you can.
Yeah.
It's
citizens
of New York.
For those who are wondering what it's talking about, there's a woman who is suing the New York Giants and the New York Jets for using the name New York due to the fact that they do not technically play in New York City, and she does not like the inconvenience of getting from Manhattan to Giant Stadium, or MetLife Field, or whatever the hell it's called now.
MetLife Stadium,
yeah.
Is it that inconvenient?
for her apparently.
For her.
Yeah. So,
yeah. My question mark is this: it would be wonderful if the Giants actually played in Manhattan, but where?
Right.
Where would there has never been a stadium in Manhattan since ever.
Polo Grounds.
Polo Grounds was but I mean that was very. So I mean there
how many people sat in the Polo Grounds? What was the capacity there?
It wasn't
40,000. Was it?
There's been talks.
It wasn't. There's 80,000 people can fit in MetLife. I don't think that came close. It was a fraction of that.
And there's been talks over the year of building a stadium somewhere,
on the west side,
over the piers,
right,
near Chelsea Piers and all that. That would be wonderful. But the problem is that Manhattan and New York City doesn't want anything to do with it.
No,
yeah,
and the residents that live there don't want anything to do with it.
No, not at all.
So she is in the minority of people complaining. Mm-hmm. Yes, for eight times a year, the people who live in Manhattan are very happy to go visit the lovely. Drive through Secaucus and East Rutherford so that they don't have to deal with that being in their backyard.
What's amazing is she just came out with a lawsuit now. I don't know how old she is, but the Giants have been the New York Giants have been playing in New Jersey for almost 46 years.
Yes.
So
yeah. And I mean, you don't even have to drive.
Took you a while to come around to that,
right? You can take mass transit there.
But, there's literally, it's a bit of a pain in the ass.
But it is. Literally almost half the time they've been in existence, they've been in New Jersey. So,
I think she got on the wrong bus. I think she took the bus to IKEA.
She did,
and then it was a little bit of a longer.
And then she had to go to the mall afterwards.
That's
and
right.
Then back to the stadium, and then she had to walk across half the lot. And
she didn't like.
Yeah, that can be a long walk
with her bags.
She didn't like carrying her Fulgenhagen bookcase to Giant Stadium. Exactly. They wouldn't let her in with it.
They wouldn't let her. She had to check it.
When it's cold out, that can be quite a walk.
It's a pain.
It's a long walk.
So there you go. But in any event, all right. But the Jets. Back to the Jets. They how do you think? Wrap up the season for us, Pete. Give us your take. What do you think? What direction do you think they're heading? How do you think the season went?
I honestly, I don't really know. I'm not sure how much we've really learned about the Jets. We knew they were a very young team with a rookie quarterback and a brand new coach and staff and all that coming in. I'm not sure. I don't feel any worse than I did coming into this season.
Gotcha.
I don't know if Zach Wilson's going to be any good. He obviously had his rookie struggles. He made some absolutely horrific plays, as young rookie quarterbacks tend to
early
do.
on. He got better as it was.
Early on, he got better, but it's going to take another year at least, I think, for him. I don't know if he's really going to blossom and come out of the gate and go for it next year, which is really sort of what you'd kind of be expecting.
Right.
You draft a guy that high, you're expecting him to be pretty good that second year.
You would like,
and I don't know if he is. And based on some of the, I don't know how I like Saleh. I certainly want to give him more time, but there have been some bad decisions on his part as well. So I don't feel
he was a rookie too, if you think about it, right? So
exactly, yeah, he is or was. I don't feel bad about the Jets, but I'm happy because they're young and they're going to develop. So I guess technically they're moving in the right direction, but
do you feel better now than you did before the season?
Well, yeah, because I'm a pessimist.
Okay.
And, I listen, I was happy with Zach Wilson, but as I think I've said before, we've talked about before, once kind of the word got out that he was going to the Jets, well, then the hype machine begins.
Right.
And there were plenty of people who questioned whether Zach Wilson was worthy of being drafted that high.
Sure.
He was the next best option other than Trevor Lawrence.
Sure.
Right. And I think given what we've seen this season, I think that's justified. Now, that doesn't mean he'll never be a good quarterback. He might be.
Right.
He might be. I'm not saying I think.
Once he graduates high school, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I think he needs to stop having to take IB calculus and concentrate on the playbook a little bit. So I don't feel bad about the Jets, but I don't feel like, next year they're going to be considerably better.
Right.
But I guess there's growth, and that's what you want to see. And I've preached you have to give these people time.
Right.
So,
you don't know. But I mean,
I can't say I've learned a whole lot about the team this
year. Out of that class of quarterbacks, obviously some of them did not get much playing time, like Trey Lance. Obviously, Mac Jones. A lot of people. I was somebody who actually really liked Mac Jones. He's exceeded everybody's expectations, but a lot of that just has to do with the coaching and where he's at. So
you put any of these 5 guys in that situation, they would have done better than they did in the situation they're in.
And I do think that Trevor Lawrence it will become a pretty good quarterback. I think, but I think having looked at that, I think Zach Wilson did just as good, if not better, than Trevor Lawrence this year.
Lawrence
he played on a horrible team.
Yeah. Yes, and given everything that happened there, that was a really terrible situation.
Right.
I would say, the uphill, more of it, or at least part of the uphill battle that Wilson faces is the first-time head coach, because he's got a rookie coach.
Yep.
Right.
And of course, who knows?
Who knows who's going to be coach in Jacksonville, right?
Right, exactly. So Trevor Lawrence may have that issue in his second year.
Yeah.
So those two guys have to grow together and stuff as far as the Saleh and Wilson. But it's hard to say. Look, I have optimism because I'm a Jets fan.
Right.
Well,
you have more optimism.
I think Zach Wilson has all the tools to be an excellent quarterback. And I hope that Saleh turns out
other than a bunch of tools surrounding him.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
he's got a lot of other tools too. I mean, you got to be high on Braxton Berrios.
Yeah, I think that's what I was just going to say. I think the Jets have some really interesting playmakers, and I think the Jets were most dynamic on special teams this year.
Yeah. Sure.
Yep.
I think their defense played better than a lot of people expected them to do. They don't have an offensive identity quite yet. But they have some playmakers.
That's the thing.
And the Jets
don't know who they are.
They had a lack of a running game, which is what a young quarterback needs.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah, Wilson wasn't exactly in the best position to succeed. And of course, Berrios is on the All-Pro team, so
there you go.
Bright future for him.
So let's see how it goes this year, this coming year. The next season. I think you'll see more improvement. I think it'll be good. That's my thought.
Listen,
anyway.
It's the Jets are going to have a test too, because they've got 2 top 10 picks as well, right?
Sure, they do. Yeah.
So how do you take this team, which is growing and having its growing pains, and you got to make the most of those picks? You got to get at least one of those 2 guys has to be, if not a superstar, they've got to be a standout,
right?
Or else your front office is not doing their job,
Exactly.
And then you're not giving Saleh any help, and by extension, you're not giving Zach Wilson or anybody else on the team any help.
I think the Jets do, like every team, need offensive and defensive linemen. I think they could use some help in their secondary, but I really think what the Jets need is a playmaker on offense as far as a wide receiver. Sort of a prototype 6'4", 6'3" wide receiver who's not afraid to get in the slot and actually get dirty with some 10, 12 yard, under routes where he's not afraid to get into the mix of things. That's what the Jets are really lacking right now.
Let's one more time.
A running game.
Yeah.
And a running game.
Got the sounder one more time?
One more time for old time's sake. Last time for the season. Let's hit the sounder one more time.
Are the Jets going to win today? No. I mean, yes. I mean, no. I mean, yes. I mean, no. I mean, yes. I mean, no.
I mean, one last question to you guys while we wrap up, hopefully Giants and Jets for the last time for a couple months.
Until the draft.
Until the draft. Well, until the GM and the head coach are hired by the Giants.
Until the offensive line coach is chosen.
Play the sounder on draft day.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys a question. I mean, who had a better season, the Giants or the Jets?
Jets.
Yeah.
Jets.
Yeah, I got to say, I think it was the Jets.
I agree.
Definitely.
I mean, they at least went somewhere. Did the Giants go anywhere?
Giants
went backwards.
They regressed. They went backwards from last year. Yeah. So, and granted, injuries and BS.
And they both wound up with the same record. Right?
It doesn't. Their same record. Yeah, they both were 14-3. And let's look at that really quick. The Giants, the closest that our guesses, the 3 of our guesses for their record before the season started, the person that came closest would be Harry.
Yes.
Harry said they would go 7-10. They went 4-13. The Giants. Harry said they would go 7-10. I said 8-9. Pete said 9-8. So Harry was the closest with 7-10. 3 games off, but
still not very good for any of us.
Still not good for any of us, but he was
Harry
the
wins by default.
However, the Jets went 4-13. Ding, 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 ding. Harry hit it on the head.
Chicken dinner.
Harry said 4-13.
I think I even picked 3 out of the 4 games that they won.
That they were going to win.
Games that they were going to win. So, yeah.
What did I say?
I said I can talk. Harry said 4-13. I said 5-12. You originally said 6-11, and then right before we finished, you said, "Nah, I'm going to change it to 5-12."
Yeah.
So,
and if they hadn't shit the bed on that final week,
then you and I would have been right.
Then we would have been fortunately correct.
Yeah,
because it wouldn't have been prognostication power. It would have been luck.
It would have been luck. Yeah, absolutely. But so Harry, you win the prize. You win the chicken dinner for picking the Jets.
I'll take it.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, let me ask you guys this. Mm-hmm. Like, who? I don't want to say who had the better season or worse season. Like the end of the season, the last few games of the season.
Jets, by far.
Jets were better than the Giants. Okay,
Jets,
but I want
Jets were better than a few teams at the end of the season.
Well, I want to throw some other teams out here. All right, so we'll make a list here. Who had
Who's the worst team in the NFL?
No, who had like the worst end of the season?
Oh, okay.
Is it the Giants because they went 0-6?
Giants are the worst end of the season.
Giants in Jacksonville.
All right, how about the Colts?
Well, the
Colts had 2 win and in situations, including one against Jacksonville.
But prior to that, they were the hottest team in the NFL.
I'm talking about the end of the season.
You're talking the last 2 weeks?
Well, who shit the bed in the last 2 or 3 weeks the worst?
Well, obviously the Colts.
The Colts.
Is it the Colts? Is it maybe the Ravens?
The Chargers.
Is it the Chargers?
You can't say the Chargers. The Chargers were right there. Look, there's a lot of these games we're going to talk about. What happened there. We'll talk about them next.
The Colts. To answer your question, the Colts.
It's the Colts.
The Colts because they had
the Ravens had injuries.
Were beat the fuck up. Yeah.
They were. They had the shit.
And the Chargers playing San Diego, and they're just like, well, why do we really want to go to the playoffs when we go to the beach?
Right. Exactly. Even though they're in Los Angeles now. But
well, you know what I mean. They're going back to San Diego.
They're going to go home to San Diego, right? They're going to go hang out. They're going to go.
I meant they wanted to get home.
They wanted to get home to San Diego. I got you. But one more thing on the Jets. Not anything for that, but you did realize that the Jets are, and the Lions too, their coaching staffs are going to be coaching the Senior Bowl this year.
Yeah, I read that.
You did read that, right? This is the first time since.
Is this the game where really old football players play?
Senior Bowl, yeah.
No,
80 years old.
It should be, but it's not.
There's no mouthpieces needed because nobody has teeth.
Nobody
they
has
just take their teeth out
Doesn't
before
matter,
the game.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. This is the first time since 1979 that the Jets are actually coaching in the Senior Bowl. Since they actually got to see ahead of time and then drafted, Mark Gastineau and Marty Lyons.
Oh, there we go. So they'll maybe get a look at.
They'll get a look at a couple of guys. Exactly. So there you go.
They could find a couple of guys with some nice flowing mullets, then they'll
and then they'll be good to go
on their way.
Absolutely. And then if that happens, they better draft them. But in any event, one other thing: the Jets are actually raising ticket prices next year by 3%. So an average of 3%.
Yeah, well, they're already too expensive. So
there you go. But
I don't know what it costs to go to an NFL game, but it's too much. I'm sure
that's a lot.
I have no idea what the number is.
Unless somebody's giving me Jets tickets, I'm not. It's too much.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Anyway, whatchamacallit? So to your point before, you were saying shitty ends of seasons. All right, let's talk about the Colts for a second. The Colts in 2 weeks, the Colts went from being the team that nobody wanted to face in the playoffs to the team that nobody's going to face.
Nobody has to face. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of brow wiping going on in the NFL playoff.
I didn't want to face them, and thank God they took care of that themselves.
they did it themselves. So the Colts, in the trade with the Eagles, the Colts got Wentz and missed the playoffs. The Eagles got the Colts' first and third round picks this year and made the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, look, Harry, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to say I think you're right about Carson Wentz. They stopped Jonathan Taylor, and the Colts couldn't get it done against a 3-14 team. And Wentz was terrible. Right, he threw threw a couple of picks. I think at least one. I know
he's not good.
He was. Somebody called Wentz the other day, which we call Baker Mayfield without the commercials.
Yeah, he's just.
I'll take Mayfield.
He had one good season.
I'll take Mayfield before I'll take.
Oh yeah, I'll take Mayfield any day over. So yeah, he's no good. I think. I mean, he's still so young that it's hard to completely close the book. But I don't. Yeah. I mean, how does Wentz ever get back to what he was for that 1 year?
Well, but he wasn't. This is the thing. He wasn't that for a whole year. He didn't have to play in crunch time.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think the Eagles win the Super Bowl with Carson Wentz.
They wouldn't have gotten to crunch time without him, though. I think.
I don't know. Nick Foles had a pretty good year.
But you see, it's the same thing. It's almost like equating to what we. Harry, you and I always talk about with Phil Sims and Jeff Hostetler. The Eagles got to the promised land because of Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz is no Phil Sims.
No, he's not.
No, but his numbers
that year,
were great that year. He was really, really good.
He was.
And then he got hurt.
And then
Foles did what Foles does.
Right.
And not to take anything away from him, but they got there because of Wentz.
They got there because of Wentz.
They might have gotten there because of Foles, but he never seems to pan out.
Right.
I get you.
But anyway, he sucks. He's just sucked ever since.
Well, ironically, too, we're in a couple of the podcast. We're in a couple of Colts groups, and the overwhelming consensus that I've seen being posted by people in the Colts groups is that they're sticking with Wentz as far as, they're not like saying, oh, we got to get rid of him. We got to get somebody else.
Well, they're paying him.
Well, I mean, they obviously are going to stick with Wentz. I'm talking about the fans. I'm not talking about the ownership doesn't have much of an issue, much of a problem, or can't even talk. The ownership doesn't have much of a choice but to stick with Carson Wentz. But I'm just talking as far as some of the fans go, and then some of them obviously are getting on his case. But
they're still hopeful because he's only been there a year,
and they're Indianapolis.
That's what that is.
They're nice.
Give him another year, and they'll be Philadelphia. Well, Philly fans will turn on in three-quarters of a game. But
I mean,
even the Philly faithful who after year one wanted to stick with him by middle of year two, they were done with him, and the Colts fans will be too.
Right. So it's insane. Speaking of the Chargers, that Raiders-Chargers game was absolutely insane. I mean, you couldn't have written a movie better.
That was like an '80s throwback, man.
It was ridiculous. And I mean, with how many minutes left in the fourth quarter, the Raiders were up by 15 points, and the Colts came back. They converted Chargers. They converted 6 fourth down plays. 6 fourth down plays. That hasn't happened in 30 years in a game.
Having said that, Chargers may be the most disappointing team this year.
I think they are. I think they have to get that award, the most disappointing team, because they were in a lot of games that they shit the bed at the end of it and lost. They became the Raiders this year.
Yeah, and look, what a story with the Raiders, right? I mean, what a turnaround from what they were dealing with.
Sure, absolutely.
The ghost of Chucky and everything.
Chargers. Last 3 weeks, they lost to the Texans and then an epic battle with the Raiders there. Had a win with the Broncos sandwiched in between. But that's pretty bad.
It is.
And they got beaten up by Houston too. They lost by 12 points or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty lousy 3 weeks to close things out too.
And here's something I'll give the Raiders credit for. The Raiders had the best conference record in their. They're 8-4 in the conference. I mean, that tells you that they're pretty good against when they know the team they're playing against. I mean, the other teams that had the best conference records. I mean, the Raiders had the best conference record in their division. In the AFC, though, the best conference records: New England, Cincinnati, Tennessee, and the Raiders.
What are they? New England
8-4. They're all 8-4.
They're all 8-4.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
That's not bad.
That's not bad at all. That's good company for the Raiders to be in. And on that game too. I mean, because you think about it too, the Steelers won their game, and all they had to do, as long as the Raiders and Chargers didn't tie, didn't matter who won, as long as they didn't tie, the Steelers were in.
Yep.
This had tie written all over it. Even to the end of overtime, it had tie written all over it. And I honestly think, and the consensus was, anything I've read and anything I heard on TV and on radio, the Raiders were probably going to run the clock out until the Chargers called that timeout with a minute and change left in overtime. Had they not called that timeout, the Raiders were probably just going to run the clock out. And because it doesn't matter. They tie, they both go. What the hell's the difference, right? They're both going to playoffs.
That's what Derek Carr said, right? He said there was no way we were going for the tie.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the Chargers coach? I forget his name. Not that I ever knew it. Anyway, he said it wasn't for spite or anything. He said that we needed to get our best run defense in. We thought they were going to run the ball, and we didn't have our first team, whatever, run defense personnel in there. Right. So that's why we called the timeout. We put them in. They ran the ball, and they got the first down, and then they ran the ball again anyway. So it didn't end up helping them.
That was the difference, yeah.
But so I don't know how much of that is. It's hard for me to think that the entire Raiders team went, fuck those guys calling timeout. We're going for the win now.
Right.
You always go for the win, but it might have been a little bit of extra incentive.
It could have
or at least made the victory a little bit sweeter.
Right. On the Pittsburgh note too, the Pittsburgh walk-off win on Sunday was the 33rd walk-off win of the season. That's the most in NFL history. 33 walk-off wins in one season. Whether it's the end of the game and you kick a field goal to win the game, or the end in overtime, whatever. Obviously, anything in overtime ends the game, except if it's whatever. But 2 field goals in that. But it was the 33rd walk-off win of the season, most in NFL history, until the Raiders-Chargers game later that night.
Yeah,
it was 34th win. So 34 walk-off wins in this season. It's insane.
All right, quick question, because I know we got picks and stuff to do, and Harry's got a life to get to.
Yes.
Who is a hotter team right now? Steelers, 49ers, Raiders.
Of those three?
Heading into the playoffs.
Of those three?
49ers.
49ers, right?
Yep.
I'm going to give you an order. They're all good, but I'm going to give you an order. Raiders, 49ers, Steelers. That's my order. Raiders, okay. 49ers, Steelers. Raiders and 49ers are closer than the Steelers are to them, but they're pretty damn close. But I'm saying the Raiders are just an edge, an edge hotter than just a hair hotter than the 49ers.
Okay.
Yours? What's your thought?
I'd say the 49ers are a little bit hotter because the Rams.
Just the competition that they played.
Yeah, despite the Rams' disappointments this season, which were fairly few.
Fair enough.
12-5 team. They're still a very, very good team.
Sure.
And the Chargers are, you might say they're one of the most disappointing teams. Yeah. So I'd go Niners, Raiders, and
gotcha.
Fuck the Steelers. I hate
gotcha.
Them.
All right.
They get nothing from me. They're cold. They're ice cold.
Cold.
Wouldn't that be something if they win the Super Bowl?
They might get to the Super Bowl.
No, they're not.
If you get there, you can win it. No, you never know, man.
On any given Sunday.
On a bunch of. Well, how are they going to win 2 games to get there?
They got to win who?
3.
Anybody playing this weekend has to win 3 games.
On any 3 given Sundays.
There you go. Couple of quick funny things. I'll say this. I saw something this morning. It was a crawl on the bottom of on NFL Network on Good Morning Football. It said the last 4 times the Cowboys and the 49ers have faced each other, because they're playing this weekend.
Right.
The last 4 times the Cowboys and the 49ers have faced each other in the playoffs, the winner of the game won the Super Bowl. What it neglected to say was it was 30 years ago.
Right.
So, it was 92, 93, 94, 95. But
yeah, listen, this is a real make or break moment for the Cowboys, right?
Sure.
Blow this one, flame out in the playoffs again. I mean, there aren't enough heads to roll.
Yeah,
exactly. To make up for that. Maybe Jerry will sell the team if that.
Please, one can.
I'm done with these motherfuckers. I'd love to see that press conference.
Exactly.
Fuck the Cowboys.
Exactly. Big Ben said, I don't know if you saw I said it to you guys. He said that he was quoted as saying the Steelers don't have a shot at beating the Chiefs this week.
I think he was being somewhat tongue in cheek, but yes.
Either that or it was.
Listen,
a way to throw the Chiefs off their game a little bit, maybe.
It wasn't that many weeks ago that we were wondering what the fuck happened to the Chiefs.
This is true,
right? They kind of turned it around in the later part of the season.
They still give up a lot of points.
They give up points, and they can have a bad day, and the Steelers can maybe have just a good enough day.
This is true. So, One other funny thing. No one in human history has ever sent a text about the Bengals winning a playoff game.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. That was good.
Because the last time the Bengals won a playoff game was 1991. The first text wasn't sent until 1992. So there you go.
Nobody ever said, gee, I can't wait for the next time the Bengals win a playoff game. They checked every text.
About the Bengals having won a playoff game.
I don't know. So. I think Curly Kardashian definitely texted about it. At
Probably. And Kyrie Jenner probably responded.
That's right.
So, exactly. So anyway, all right, cool. That's that. I was going to get to top 5 rookies, but let's wait a week on that. Let's talk about that next Wednesday, because I want to dive into that a little bit, and we can massage that a little bit between now and then. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, let's just do this here. What do you say? We do some picks?
Okay.
You think that's a good idea?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? So let's go to Beaten by the Coin. Beaten by the Coin.
Beaten by the coin.
I'm sure I'll lose to the coin.
No one wants to be beaten by the coin.
Well, it's happened. Maybe for the first time, I think, right? We've
I
never
believe
all
this is the
lost
first
to
time,
the
yes.
coin.
This week was so weird that, yes, we all lost to the
This
coin.
week was so weird. John and I 3-3. Harry 2-4. The Clippers let you down, which was the only loss for the coin. They won with Buffalo, Washington. We all did. And they had Pittsburgh, they had San Francisco, and they had Seattle. So the better teams shit in the bed there helped out the coin. So the coin went 5-1 and is now just 4 games under 500, which is fairly respectable.
Very good.
But so it's me, John, and Harry, all each separated by 1 game.
Everybody
And
by 1 game.
we've got a bunch of games to go, so still anyone.
Yes, 6 games this weekend.
6 games this weekend.
4 and then 4 and then 1.
Yeah, isn't there like 2 games on Saturday?
We got another
2
15 games.
2 on Sunday, 3 on Monday, and a wild card game on Wednesday.
Wednesday afternoon, yeah, exactly.
And then the Pro Bowl for a tiebreaker.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. The Senior Bowl.
The Senior Bowl could be the tiebreaker, yeah. All right, so let's start it off with those Raiders visiting them Cincinnati Bengals. Anybody have any thoughts on this?
Yeah,
Hot Raiders.
I
Bengals.
think it's good. I'll take it first. I think it's going to be a close game. Maybe not a close game. I think it's going to be a good game. Let's put it that way. And at least for the first half. But I think in the later in the game, at the latest, I should say, the Bengals are going to pull away. The Bengals are going to win the game.
Harry, I think last week you said you don't have faith in Derek Carr to win the big game.
And I also said that I think Joe Burrow's the MVP of the league this year, and I stick by that.
He did say that.
I think the Bengals win this. I think this is Joe Burrow's coming out party.
I think it is too. I don't have that much faith in Derek Carr to win another big game.
Yeah.
Although that wasn't impressive.
It was pretty good.
All right, this coin says home team. So we all
Bengals.
like Cincinnati there.
There you go.
All right, New England against Buffalo for the 3rd time this season, right?
3rd time. Yep.
Look, Buffalo looked pretty good last week. They did what they needed to do. They still have issues, but going into it, we all thought Buffalo was going to win this division, and it was a little bit closer maybe than we thought.
Sure.
But who knows? You know, listen, New England, you always got to figure is going to be sort of in it or close to in it, but this one's in Buffalo, and this is Buffalo. They need to take the step, right? They need to take the next step to prove
Sure.
it's here.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what they did last week.
I think so.
But it's Belichick.
It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a close game, and this is one of those ones. This is one of 2 games that's hot on everybody's radar. For a lot of people are picking the underdogs in this game. But I'm going to say this. Conversely to the teams that were heading in the wrong direction, I think Buffalo is probably the one team that probably ended the season the strongest.
Yeah.
And was maybe living up to somewhat of the promises that they had going into the year. You know, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. I'm gonna ride with them. It's tough to pick against New England, but I'm going with Buffalo.
I'm going to take Buffalo, too. I mean, Mac Jones is still a rookie, as good as he's been, you know, and there's pressures and all that. And Buffalo is a really hard place to play. It gets really, really loud there.
Yeah.
amongst other things. And I imagine it might be a little bit cold. Although
maybe
it's
their
cold in New
offensive and
England, too.
defensive coordinators will put together a good game plan. As this might be just an interview for those guys.
It could be.
I believe you're right.
So, John?
That's why I said I believe you're right. So
Oh, okay. So we all like Buffalo.
there you go.
And the coin likes the home team.
We're all in
Lockstep
agreement so
once.
far. Like,
Coin, you're going to have to.
Coin
go
got a
against-
couple wins, and now they're like, "Hey,
Yes, I'm just going to hang and be 4
I'm never gonna have a week like last week again." So.
All right. Next up, them Eagles visiting them Tampa Bay Bucks. Let's see. I'll take Tampa Bay. Have to.
I'll take Tampa. I think it's going to be, a one-score game though.
it's going to be a low-scoring game. But the Eagles are going to give them some shit. I don't think the Bucks are like winning 42-0 or anything like that.
And
So-
other than 1 or 2 games, I think the Eagles are another team that were heading in the right direction towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
But the Bucks will win.
Bucks are winning.
All right. I don't know if the Eagles can hang with them the whole game, but
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think it'll be
They'll hang for a little
blowout.
while.
I think it wouldn't surprise me if it was a 10-point game.
Make some noise in the third quarter, but
I don't think it's going to be 3 points.
I'll tell you what, Tampa's got to not dig themselves a hole.
Yeah.
Because the Eagles
Right.
are not the Jets.
Right. All right. Coin says Philly.
There you
we
go.
Coin making a move.
That's our coin.
yeah, it's
All right. San Francisco at Dallas. I think you know who I'm taking.
you're taking San Antonio.
I'm gonna
Clippers.
go. I'm gonna go with Edmonton.
You're going to go with the Dallas North Stars.
Those North Stars.
I'll take the boys.
I am taking the upset.
So am
I
I.
think that's a really good pick, and if I wasn't a Cowboy fan, I would join you.
There you go.
If this was anyone other than Dallas, I would take San Francisco.
This is a tough one, but yeah.
Yeah. And the coin likes the home team, so that means I lose.
You and the coin.
Damn it! Me and the coin never works out well
Doesn't
for me.
work out.
it's a
But then
romance made in paradise.
Yeah, me and the coin often picking the goddamn Chargers and or the Rams.
That's
so.
right. The Chargers
All right.
have been your foil all year.
Yeah, they really have.
They became my foil last week.
Pittsburgh in KC.
It would be a great story for Ben, but
I do want to just throw $50 on FanDuel on the Steelers in this
That's just-
game for some
that's just
reason.
giggles,
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
yeah, Kansas
Yeah.
City's winning.
All right, let's see. See if the coin's going to be bold here. Tails. They like Pittsburgh. How about that?
There you go.
And finally, Arizona versus the Los Angeles Raiders, the most free agented team in the NFL.
Free agented team, yeah.
Well, that's not really what I mean.
I know.
They just kept adding pieces.
Right, I know you. I'm gonna go with Arizona on this one.
Arizona's the underdog in this, right?
Yep.
They
Not
did
by
not,
much.
and they had a pretty shitty end to their season too.
I agree.
They lost a couple of games, so. But I don't think that is necessarily indicative of where the Cardinals are.
This
No.
is the
I
this
don't
is
think
actually,
their start is necessarily indicative of it.
I
They're
think this
still
is
a
the
very
hardest
good
game
team.
to pick. I
Yeah.
think this is actually the hardest game to pick, and it is literally a coin toss. A coin toss.
I like the coin toss better.
So it's a coin toss.
So I mean, Arizona is still a very good team. Not as good as their 5-1 start or whatever they were, and certainly not as bad as their
Here's
2 end. But
here's
it's
my
the Rams.
Here's my rationale with taking the Rams. It has nothing to do with the Rams. It has to do with the fact that since the Arizona Cardinals' best offensive player went out with an injury, they have not been the same.
Yeah.
And I think the Rams have to really screw this up and turn the ball over to lose this game. I think this is going to be a coming out party for Cooper Kupp. I think that Matthew Stafford's going to get over the hump with his playoff woes, and I think the Rams are going to win this game.
Okay, fair enough.
John, you agree?
No, I said
No, John's taking the Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm tempted.
He's taking the Diamondbacks.
I'm taking him going with Diamondbacks.
I'm tempted to take the Diamondbacks too. I mean, look, Stafford's
It's a toss-up.
he's always kind of been error prone, And Arizona is a very...
They're both schizophrenic teams. They're
Yeah.
both really schizophrenic teams. I just think the Rams are healthier.
Yeah. Arizona's a pretty opportunistic defense, though. Even if they're not scoring as much, if they can turn the ball over a couple times and keep LA out of the end zone,
Sure.
they can keep it close.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it is. I got to take LA.
All right.
Fucking Rams.
Pete loves LA.
Pete loves LA.
All right, let's see what the old coin says. Coin likes Arizona.
Oh, jeez.
So
So
there
it's
we
me and the
go.
coin on that one.
Johnny and the coin.
Johnny and the
out on
coin.
the-
Johnny
So,
and the coin.
We could have a little movement here. We got a
Little
couple of,
movement.
Good.
Well, that's always good. You gotta eat your brand.
God, there's going to
Well,
be more playoff games on this week than it's like a regular week.
I know.
yeah.
We got
All right.
the Bengals and Raiders are at 4:30 tomorrow. The Bills and Pats are at 8:15 tomorrow night. Bucks and Eagles 1 on Sunday. Cowboys 49ers 4:30 on Sunday. Chiefs Steelers 8:15.
Chiefs
on
Steelers,
Sunday.
the primetime Sunday
Primetime
game.
They gave Tom Brady and the reigning Super Bowl champions the 1:00 Sunday slot.
Which is
Yeah.
which is actually kind of a Sunday 1:00 game is still.
No, of course it's good, but you think of prime time. You know what I mean? And then the first Monday night playoff game ever, Rams and Cards Monday night.
Yeah, that's a
it's a good game.
And listen, probably, I mean, the Eagles and the Bucks are both, East Coast.
Right.
So,
So yeah,
mean,
so
listen,
put
if
them
you're-
on at 1:00 so people in LA can watch it at 10 in the morning.
well, listen, I tell you, we went out to visit my
We're used to
brother-in-law.
watching games at 11 now.
Yeah, it's great. We flew out to visit my brother-in-law who lived out in Berkeley, and we ended up watching football at 10 a.m. on Sunday. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Because I watched the Jets game, and then
Yeah, you're
and then we had
drunk.
the whole-
You're drunk and hungover before the night game starts.
yeah, we watched the game, and then we went to brunch, and then I don't remember anything.
And you don't remember
Probably
everything.
blacked out. Probably blacked out.
All right, good games. This should be an interesting week.
All right,
Oh, there you go. All right,
there we go.
Beaten
Beaten by the coin. Not again, hopefully.
Yeah, that did happen once, just this week. So anyway, all right. That brings us to this week's top 10 list.
And before you guys get into the top 10 list, I am going to bow out.
You are. So you're going
Yes.
to miss the over-under.
I'm going to miss the over-under, I guess. Unless you want to do the over-under first, and you can do it within 5 minutes.
We you want to save it for Wednesday?
Sure.
Yeah, we could save it.
And,
You were so excited, though. He was so excited for it.
I realize I have another good one, but that one's going to be gone.
The over-under and the quiz are my favorite parts of the show.
Just start.
I don't want to miss either of those.
You want to do the over-under really quick in 5 minutes? And...
All right, let's do. You know what? I'll do my backup over under.
All right.
All right, do the backup and save the other one for Wednesday. There you go.
Okay, so it's the beginning of the year, right? We changed the batteries in our smoke detectors if
Sure.
we're good people.
Good Americans.
So rather than spend a lot of money on Duracells, I bought some. They're a name brand, but they're not Duracell batteries. So I have here. a pack-
ever ready?
I think they're Panasonics.
Okay.
Panasonic, good.
How many batteries are in there?
So I have a pack of batteries here from Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can't show you the other side because it has how many are in here,
Mhm.
Gotcha.
and it's this big around, which is
Okay.
Are
They double
Four.
A's? Or
these
9
are
volts?
9 volts,
9 volts. Okay.
9 volts.
and then this big. So I don't know. I don't have anything. All right, so here's a Red Stripe bottle
Uh-huh.
reference,
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
and it's yay thick.
Okay, fair enough.
So that's the over under. How many
How
batteries are in this pack of 12 volt? Again, these are 12 volt batteries.
Mm-hmm.
They're not 9 volt?
No, that's what I mean.
9 volt.
9 volt batteries.
The 9
So
volt
there's,
batteries.
so there's 12
They're-
in there.
They're 12 volt, 9
So the
volt batteries.
over under.
There's 12 9 volt batteries.
Batteries.
The over under is 11 and a half.
I'm going over.
I'm over.
Let's see.
Over.
Let me count 'em up here.
Over.
And they are Panasonic.
I was
2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
You took 2 out of there. There's nobody sells 10 batteries.
They're in packs of 2. I bought 5 packs of 2. Why? Because I have 10 smoke detectors in my house.
Because you knew that we'd all think there was a dozen in there. I didn't realize they were. I didn't realize they were in individual.
I didn't realize they were in individual packs. I figured there was an other one. I'm like looking at them. I'm like counting up him. I thought there would have been 16.
Yeah.
So that's why I said
that would have been a good. Yeah.
I thought I was going to be like, okay, it's a 16 pack because it's like 1 box of 16. That would have made sense. So.
Well, that was a good one. That was a good one. Again, I think I've only gotten 1 over under right.
I've only won a couple. You've won 1.
Yeah. You're gonna like next week's.
All right, good.
Right.
Next week's is gonna be great.
All right, folks. Sorry, but I must depart. I will leave you in the good hands of these fine gentlemen to go over the top 10 Tampa tampons of all time.
Tarpa tampons.
There we go.
Tarpa tampons.
So who do you digress? Who do you defer old balls to tonight? Because that's your thing.
Well, I am going to.
Oh yeah, who's old?
Let
balls?
you guys flip a coin.
Oh, all right. Maybe we'll both do it.
Maybe we can AB it.
I think you get 1 ball and you get 1 ball.
We'll both take a ball. I'm on the left side of the screen, so I'll take the left one.
Didn't tonight's recipient have surgery? He only has 1.
He has 3 actually.
Oh, all right. So we're good.
We were all going to do it, but
the deepest voice ever in the NFL.
How are you?
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, you got to go have fun in Denver.
Bye.
We'll see you later.
Wednesday.
All right. All right. So let's.
Now I got to look up some information about tonight's old balls.
Yeah. Well, you have it, right? You have who it is. So.
I know who it is, but I
just got to look up some info.
My information about.
Well, while you do that, I'll start talking about.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's start talking about our top 10.
Our top 10 list tonight, if you couldn't tell from the garb I'm wearing, as usual, is top 10 Detroit Lions of all time.
Oh, Lions. Sorry.
Lions. Top 10 Detroit Lions of all time. Now, and I will tell you right now, Lions have always been held a special place for me, only because my grandfather, my mother's father, he was a Detroit fan through and through. Never went to Detroit, just won a bet when he was like 12 years old for a nickel back in the 30s, and on a Tigers game, Yankees were playing the Tigers, and one of his friends was a Yankees fan, and he says, I'll bet you that the Yankees are going to beat the Tigers today, a nickel. And he took the bet, and the Tigers won, and he became a Detroit fan. So he was a Detroit everything fan. My father always says if Detroit had a pinochle team, he would have been a fan of them. So he loved the Lions. He was always a big Lions fan. So it holds a little special place there. So
I had a quick story. Not that it's a special place, but I had a teacher in high school who was a general Detroit sports fan. Not because he was from Detroit or had ever. Well, he had been there. He told a story that. So this is early '80s. Okay. So he told a story that he went to Detroit to get a new car. He knew what car he wanted, and he knew what color he wanted, and all the specs and all that stuff. And he went to the factory. I forget what car it was. It was a GM, so one of the General Motors. And he went to the factory, and he went in, and he told them what he wanted. And all the extras and all the colors and all that stuff. And he said, they were like, okay, no problem. And he paid them. And it was like a ridiculously low price because he was literally buying the car at the factory. And they gave him a tour of the factory, sort of like walk through, not on the production floor, like it was a catwalk or whatever. And
around, right?
Yeah, they watched a little video in a room and they walked him, sort of around. He got to look down and blah, blah, blah. And he said, between that and he had like a sandwich or something, and like an hour and a half later they had built his car. They literally built his car while he was there getting the story of the company and all that stuff and checking out the factory and all that. So it was literally brand new, just built. And I guess they whatever they put some temporary plates on it or something like that, or dealer plates, or I don't know, whatever. And he drove away and drove it back to New York. Now, I don't know if the story's true, but it's a great story.
That's a great story. I like that.
And it was, what did I know? I was a kid, I was 17 years old, maybe 16. So it seemed certainly plausible. Yeah, you just go to the factory, and he goes, and it cost him, like whatever for that time period, probably maybe $1,500 less than you might pay at a dealership.
That's awesome.
Because there were no transportation fees or none of that, bullshit.
Sure.
So great story. Go to the factory, and I'm like, I'm going to do that one day. So again, I don't know if he actually did it, but
There you go.
just imagine you walk in, you go, here's what I want. Check, check, check. You check off a list. You give them it.
Go on a tour, see a video, have a sandwich, drive your car out.
And drive your brand new car that was literally just bolted together.
Oh, I gotta love it. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
If it was something rattling, they drove it back and they tightened up a screw for him. That kind of thing.
Yeah. And they told him come back in 5,000 miles and we'll tighten the lug nuts on the wheels.
That's great.
He said, "I think I'll get that done."
Drive it all the way back to Detroit to get the lug nuts tightened.
But great story. He was a great teacher too.
Nice.
Just
awesome.
Mr. Davis.
Mr. Davis. All right. Shout
He'd
out to
come
Mr.
in every
Davis.
day. He had we had a big textbook.
Mm-hmm.
He was a social studies teacher,
right.
and he'd come in every day with this big textbook. I don't have a book around here, and we were,
right,
half asleep, and he would
down.
just take the book and slam it down on the desk.
Mm-hmm.
Boom! Morning, classmates. Everybody woke up.
There you go.
But he was great.
I love it. All right.
Anyway, that's my Detroit story.
That's your Detroit story. Cool. All right. Let's do the top 10 list. There we go. And in true Get On With It sports podcast fashion, just like we did last week, we have 12. So there we go. All right, we'll start it out. Top 10 Detroit Lions of all time. Number 10. We'll always start with number 10 because it's a good place to start. Bottom of the list, technically. We're going to start with Billy Sims, Billy Ray Sims, running back from Oklahoma, drafted with the top pick in the 1980 draft, number 1 pick. Out of Oklahoma. Played 5 seasons for the Lions, 1980 through 1984. That was it. That was his entire career. Offensive Rookie of the Year in 1980, first team All-Pro in 81, second team All-Pro in 80, 3-time Pro Bowler, NFL rushing touchdowns leader in 1980. He's a member of the Detroit Lions all-time team. His number 20 with the Detroit Lions is retired. And he is a member of the College Football Hall of Fame. So number 10, Billy Sims. There you go. Number 9 is going to be Mr. Dick Night Train Lane. Richard Lane, to be exact. So Dick Night Train Lane. Cornerback out of Scottsbluff Junior College. He went undrafted in 1952 and joined the Rams, played 2 years for the Rams. Then he played 6 seasons with the Chicago Cardinals. And then he went to the Detroit Lions after that. Played 6 seasons for the Lions, and that's where all the rest is history, as they say. 7-time first team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL receptions leader, 1950s All-Decade Team, 50th anniversary team, 75th anniversary team, 100th anniversary team. He's in the Cardinals Ring of Honor, and he's a member of the Detroit Lions all-time team. He has an NFL record to this date, 14 interceptions in a season. 14 interceptions in a season by Mr.
Was he on one of our all-time defensive backs?
Yeah, D-backs. Yeah, he was on that list.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite players.
Absolutely.
One of the great nicknames of all time.
Night Train Lane. You got to love it. Yep, he was on our defensive backs list.
Yeah. And by the way, Sims probably would have been my 11.
Gotcha.
But 5 great years, and one of the
short career, but really good 5 years.
Yeah, really good 5 years. But I did take the shortness into account, and certainly he was one of the better known Detroit Lions, I think, of all time.
He would have been number 11 on my list too. He was only on Harry's list. He was Harry's number 9, so that got him on sneaked him into number 10.
There we go.
There were 2 players left out. They both had 1 point. One of yours and one of Harry's.
Yep.
Anyway, 14 interceptions, and Night Train Lane is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So, number 9, tied for number 9, Dick Night Train Lane. All right. Also tied for number 9, Jack Christensen. John Leroy Christensen, if you will. Jack Christensen, safety and return specialist out of Colorado A&M. Drafted in the 6th round of 1951 draft by the Lions, played 9 seasons for the Lions, 51 to 59. Went on, had a decent coaching career too after that. But he had 3-time, he was a 3-time NFL champion in 52, 53, and 57. Yes, the Lions did win NFL championships.
Yes, they were good many years ago.
Yes, they were. 6-time first team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL interceptions leader, member of the 100th anniversary team, member of the 50s All-Decade team. He Pride of the Lions in 2009. He's a member of the Lions all-time team, and he is indeed in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. So tied for number 9, Mr. Jack Christensen. Moving to number 8. Number 8 is Mr. Herman Moore. Herman Joseph Moore, to be exact, a wide receiver out of Virginia, drafted with the 10th pick overall, in round number 1 in the 1991 draft. Played 11 seasons for the Lions, 91 through 2001, and then finished up his career for a year with the New York Giants in 2002. He's a 3-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL receptions leader. Pride of the Lions in 2018. Detroit Lions all-time team. And, there was something in here I wanted to read, but I forget where it was. He had 670 receptions for 9,174 yards in his career. So there you go.
Moore was great, very dependable.
Absolutely.
He's one of those guys you knew they were throwing to him, and he made the catch anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it didn't matter. Yeah, we're going to throw to him. You go ahead and stop him.
It's go ahead, put 2 guys on him. Yeah. He's going to catch it anyway.
Exactly. So there you go. Number 8, Mr. Herman Moore. All right. That brings us to number 7. We have a tie at number 7 as well. Our first number 7, still playing, but not on the Lions, is Mr. Matthew Stafford. John Matthew Stafford, to be exact, quarterback out of Georgia. Drafted with the number 1 pick overall by the Lions in 2009. Played 12 seasons for the Lions. And obviously a member of the Rams in the playoffs this weekend. We're just talking about him. With the Los Angeles Rams. NFL Comeback Player of the Year in 2011. Made the Pro Bowl in 2014. He's on the Detroit Lions all-time team. First team All-American in 2008 from college, too. And second-time All-SEC in 2008. He has a number of NFL records, and he's still playing. And fastest player to reach 20,000 career passing yards in 71 games. Fastest player to reach 30,000 career passing yards, 109 games. Fastest player to reach 40,000 career passing yards, 147 games. Fastest player to reach 45,000 passing yards, 165 games. Most fourth quarter comebacks in a season, 8 in 2016. Most passing attempts in a season, 727 passing attempts. In 2012, that was.
And he almost became a lefty the next year.
And he almost had to.
His arm wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work for a couple months.
He didn't do it. He just wore a sling from, whatever.
January until
January 2nd.
July.
Until July 15th.
He's also the first player to complete 60% or more of his passes in every game in a season. And that would be in 2015. So, one thing, we've always talked about, we've all professed it over the years, but we've talked about it on the show before. Matthew Stafford was an amazing quarterback on several Detroit teams that, underperformed to a point, but he had one really good target to throw to for many of those years.
Yeah.
So, but I think he might be coming up on this list at some point. What do you think?
Maybe.
So
possibly.
So far in his career, and this includes this year too with the Rams, 323 touchdowns to only 161 interceptions. It's a pretty good ratio, and he's 5 yards shy of 50,000 passing yards. If he got 5 more yards last weekend in the game, maybe they won the game too, but he would have hit 50,000 passing yards this year. So there you go.
Listen, he had one of the most thankless jobs in the NFL for a long time, playing for some, mediocre at the very best Lions teams. And I think if you look at the touchdown to interception ratio, considering those teams he was on, I think that's pretty astonishing.
Absolutely.
It's just a great player on a lousy team.
Mm-hmm.
Had limited help at best, and good trash talker too.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Go on the old YouTube after the show and look up.
Just put in trash talking Matthew Stafford.
Yeah. Stafford trash talk, and he's got some good stuff.
There you go. All right. Tied for number 7 on our list, Mr. Matthew Stafford. Also tied for number 7 is Mr. Alex Karras. Go over here. Alexander George Karras, to be exact. Defensive tackle out of Iowa. Pick number 10 overall in the first round of the 1958 draft by the Detroit Lions. Played for 13 seasons with the Lions. Actually 12 because he was suspended for a year in 1963. We played 1958 to 62 and 64 to 70. But yeah, so overall 58 to 70. 3-time first-team All-Pro, 6-time second-team All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, member of the NFL 60s All-Decade Team, Pride of the Lions in 2018, Detroit Lions All-Time Team. And, of course, he is indeed in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Number 7, Mr. Alex Karras. And who could forget his portrayal of Mongo?
Of course.
Of course, yeah. Telegram for Mongo.
And he was on Webster.
And he was on Webster, too. He was the dad in Webster. Yes, he was.
It was a Candygram, I think.
Candygram.
Candygram for Mongo.
Candygram.
And he punched out a horse.
And he punched a horse, yeah. There you go. So,
Which I guess you could get away with in old Hollywood.
you could do that. Well, let's put it this way.
You couldn't do that today.
About the film we're talking about, they got a lot that they couldn't get away with today.
Yeah,
So-
show that today with the appropriate cuts. And
Not so much. You saw it today. 3.5 minutes
long.
is pushing it. Yeah, it might probably less.
Well, that would be with the extended footage that they took out of the
Yeah,
original.
they took out the original one. Yeah, there you go. Actually, a minute and a half is the end when they're just riding into the sunset. That's half the movie.
That's right.
So there you go. Anyway, we're talking about Blazing Saddles, folks. Go watch it if you never have. Great movie. Anyway, Mel Brooks at his finest. So tied for number 7, Mr. Alex Karras. All right. That brings us to number 6, and that's going to be Doak Walker. Ewell. I can speak. Ewell Doak Walker II. Ewell Doak Walker II. So Doak Walker, halfback, place kicker, and punter. Halfback, place kicker, and punter out of SMU, drafted in the first round, pick 3 overall of the 1949 draft. Played 6 seasons for the Detroit Lions. That was his entire NFL career. 6 seasons, 1950 to 1955. There we go. 2-time NFL champion in 52 and 53. NFL Rookie of the Year in 1950. 4-time first-team All-Pro. 5-time Pro Bowler. 2-time NFL scoring leader in 50 and 55. His first and last year, he was the scoring leader. His Detroit Lions number 37 is retired. He was Pride of the Lions in 2009. He's on the Detroit Lions all-time team. Won the Heisman Trophy in 48, by the way, and the Maxwell Award in 47. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame, too. And, of course, he is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 6 on our list tonight, Mr. Doak Walker.
And Doak Walker, you're looking to go, well, why, if you were that good, why would you only play for 6 years? And I got to paraphrase a little bit, but he basically said, well, I won a couple of championships. I went to 4 Pro Bowls. I was 5 Pro Bowls and 4 Pro Bowls and 5 first teams or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah.
I've been a scoring champion. I've done, gave a short list of his accomplishments, and he basically said, what else is there left to do?
Mm-hmm.
So he's just like, I did all that. I had talking about a short career that was amazing. And he basically said, I don't need to hang around and get beat up anymore. I've done everything. I've been a champion. I've led the league in scoring. I've been an All-Pro and a Pro Bowler and all that stuff.
Exactly.
So I can go on and do something else now. He just didn't need to hang around and, wasn't looking to be an all-time rushing leader or anything like that.
Sure.
He said, I've had accolades every single year I've been in this game. So
sure.
What else do I need to do? I'm done. I'll go on and do something else.
And remember, he didn't walk away from millions of dollars, folks. Salaries were quite different back in the 50s.
Yes.
just a little bit. So,
I don't know. Listen, maybe he had a portents of things to come for the Lions.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe there might be some lean years coming. So I'm getting out now. But
this is true.
But he basically just said, "I've done everything. What else am I gonna do?
If he stayed another couple of years, he would have won another championship too.
Yeah, that's true.
So couldn't have won at 56 because some other team won it at 56. Who was that? Who won it at 56? I forget. The Giants.
Was it the Jets?
It would be the Giants. It would be the Giants.
The Giants. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, the Giants won 1 in 56. The Lions won 3 in the 50s.
Right. Yeah.
So, there you go. So, there you go. All right. Anyway, number 6, Ewell Doak Walker. All right. That brings us to number 5. Number 5 is Mr. Joe Schmidt. Joseph Paul Schmidt, to be exact, linebacker out of Pittsburgh, drafted in the 7th round, pick 85 overall, the 1953 draft. He was a member of the Lions for 13 seasons, and he coached the Lions for 6 years, 5 years, 5 years after that, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 6 years. Not too long after he retired from being a player, too. 2-time NFL champion, 53 and 57. 8-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, 10-time Pro Bowler, folks. 54 through 63 every year consecutively. Member of the 1950s All-Decade Team, the 100th Anniversary Team. His number 56 with the Detroit Lions is retired. Prior to the Lions in 2009, and he's on the Detroit Lions All-Time Team. And, of course, he is a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Number 5 on our list tonight, Mr. Joe Schmidt. Brings us to number 4. Number 4 is Mr. Lem Barney. Lemuel Joseph Barney. Lemuel Joseph Barney is his name. Cornerback out of Jackson State. Drafted in the 2nd round of the 1967 draft. Played his entire career, 11 years, with the Detroit Lions. 1967 through 1977. He was a Rookie of the Year in 67. 2-time first-team All-Pro. 7-time Pro Bowler. Interceptions leader in 67. His number, his Detroit Lions number 20 is retired. We'll talk about more on that in a minute, because it's odd. And his member of the Detroit Lions all-time team and Pride of the Lions in 09, and he is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The Lions. In 2004, the Lions retired jersey number 20 in a tribute to 3 great Lions who wore the number. Billy Sims.
Right.
Lem Barney.
Yeah.
And somebody else that is going to be on this list too. So we have 3 20s on this list from the Detroit Lions. So
that was probably I don't know. I might have not retired it and just given it to someone else because
exactly.
Seems like it's a good number.
Seems like it's a good number with a lot going for it. So
give it to your next number 1 pick and see what happens.
Exactly. They probably should have not done that. So there you go. Anyway, number 4 on our list tonight, Lem Barney. All right, that brings us to number 3. Number 3 is going to be Mr. Bobby Lane. Another Lane, spelled differently, but another Lane. Robert Lawrence Lane. Quarterback and place kicker out of Texas, drafted with the 3rd pick overall in the 1st round in the 1948 draft. He played for by the Chicago Bears. Played for the Chicago Bears for a year in 1948. Played for the New York Bulldogs in 1949, and then he went out to Detroit. Played for 9 seasons with the Lions, 50 through 58. Finished up his career for 5 years with the Steelers after that, too. But 3-time NFL champion with the Lions. 2-time first-team All-Pro, 4-time second-team All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL passing yards leader, NFL passing touchdowns leader in 51, completion percentage leader in 55, scoring leader in 56. Remember, the 50s All-Decade Team is number 22 with the Lions is retired. Prior to the Lions in 09, Detroit Lions all-time team. He's also in the Steelers Hall of Honor as well. And, of course, he is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And a lot of people, a lot of Detroit Lions fans have actually said, and this is an older, what's the word I'm looking for?
Contingency?
Contingency, but like an older storyline, if you will.
Oh, okay.
Is that the reason that the Lions haven't been very good and a winning team over the years has been because Bobby Lane isn't on the team. So that's something that's been carried on for a few years, a few decades, if we will. Anyway, number 3 on our list tonight, Mr. Bobby Lane. All right, that brings us to number 2. Number 2 is none other than Mr. Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson Jr., to be exact. You may know him better as Megatron. wide receiver out of Georgia Tech, number 2 pick overall in the 2007 draft. Played his entire career for the Detroit Lions. That would be 9 years. Played 9 years, 07 through 2015. He's a 3-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL receiving yards leader, NFL receiving receptions leader in 2012, receiving touchdowns co-leader in 08. Remember the 2010 All-Decade team. He is Pro Football Awards All-Rookie team in 2007. Whatchamacallit? He is a member of the Detroit Lions all-time team. And he is got a couple NFL records to his career, too. 1,964 receiving yards in a season. I don't believe that was surpassed or eclipsed by Mr. Cooper Kupp last weekend.
Nope.
He got close, but he did not do it. He moved up the rankings, but he did not beat out Megatron. And most consecutive 100-yard receiving games, that was 8 as well. And, of course, he is in Canton, Ohio, having just gone recently. Last year, as a matter of fact, because he obviously had to wait 5 years after retired. So there you go.
That's right.
Number 2 on our list, Mr. Calvin Johnson. All right. Number 1 on our list, and number 1 in many Detroit Lions fans' hearts. And the jersey I'm wearing tonight, and one of the other 20s that are retired by the Detroit Lions, and that would be Mr. Barry Sanders. No middle name, just Barry Sanders.
Just Barry.
Just Barry. There you go. Running back out of Oklahoma State, 3rd pick overall in the 1989 draft. Spent his entire 10-year career with the Detroit Lions. Retired after just 10 years. NFL's MVP in 1997. 2000. Sorry, I keep wanting to say 2000 for some reason. I'm not sure why. There might be a reason for that. I'm not quite sure. But in any event, 2-time NFL Offensive Player of the Year in 94 and 97. NFL Rookie of the Year in 89. 6-time First-Team All-Pro. 4-time Second-Team All-Pro. So he was either a first-team or second-team All-Pro in every year of his career.
Yeah.
And 10-time Pro Bowler. Went to the Pro Bowl every year he played football. 4-time NFL rushing yards leader. NFL rushing touchdowns leader. NFL 1990s All-Decade team, the 100th anniversary team. His Detroit Lions, number 20, along with Barry Sims and
Lemuel,
yes, Mr. Barney, is retired. Pride of the Lions in 09, Detroit Lions all-time team. He's a Burt Bell Award winner in 91 and 97. Won the Heisman Trophy in 98, too, and the Oklahoma State Ring of Honor he's in. And a few other college accolades, and he's in the College Football Hall of Fame as well. And, of course, he is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio as well. Here's his career stats. Rushing yards, 15,269. Yards per carry, 5. 5 yards per carry is his average over his career. 99 rushing touchdowns. 352 receptions for almost 3,000 yards, 2,921, and 10 receiving touchdowns as well. So scored 109 touchdowns in his career. Just a crazy good running back, and retired. Hey, for him, it was time. But I would have loved to see him for another couple seasons. That would have been nice.
Yeah, listen, the Lions have a little bit of a history of guys who. I don't want to say this is why they retired, but they might have played a few more years. I think he put Calvin Johnson on that list as well. But the Lions
nobody expected Megatron to retire after 9 seasons now.
Yeah, I mean they were just so freaking terrible,
Mm-hmm.
That I think that was part of the reason, especially for Sanders. He's just like, well, I don't want to do this anymore,
right?
And look, if you think, to me, 5 yards of carry obviously is a great stat, but you consider all the negative runs that he had,
right?
Where he ended up having negative yards because rather than just kind of running into the line or maybe trying to get 1 or 2 yards out of a situation, he would stop, he would go backwards, he would spin,
sure.
And end up going the other way. And sometimes it worked out, obviously, and sometimes it didn't. So,
exactly.
But to end up with 5 yards of carry, despite all that, like he's a guy who could have, 9 carries for 13 yards and then end up with 10 carries a game for 100 102 yards or something
Right.
like that. And he could bust one at any time. One of the most electric running backs in the game. A lot of people consider him the best running back, even though he doesn't necessarily have quite the same stats, but just the things he was able to do, there really isn't anybody quite like him.
Right. No, it wasn't.
Especially on a terrible teams.
Absolutely. In 97, he became the third player to rush for over 2,000 yards in a season.
Yeah.
And he was named the NFL MVP in 97. That was actually, he was co-MVP that year. There were two MVPs that year. It was him and, you know who the other one was?
What year was it?
97. Who could it be?
I don't know. That was far too many years ago for me to remember.
I'll give you a hint. He was co-MVP with a quarterback. 97. Who was a quarterback tearing it up in 97?
I don't know.
All right, I'll give you another hint. Same division.
Was it Favre?
It was Favre, yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go. Could you give me the team and his number?
And his number? and
And
not his uniform number, his phone number.
Has he ever sent inappropriate text to female reporters, beat reporters?
Who knows? All right. Yes, he was co-MVP with Brett Favre.
There we go.
There you go. All right. Number one on the list tonight, Mr. Barry Sanders. That was a good list. I enjoyed that list.
Yeah.
It was a good walk down.
Yeah, this is kind of like
that was a good walk down Bobby Dick Night Train memory lane. There you go. So
very nice.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot
Well,
of guys on this list that you just kind of like.
Yeah.
Not only great, like we do some of these lists and you go, oh, that guy, yeah, great player, but what a jerk.
Right.
This list kind of
great guys.
Yeah, some great guys.
Absolutely.
Although if you're a Lions fan, you might think Barry Sanders is kind of a jerk because he quit early, but
There you go.
you still love him because
Well, if you do, if you think Barry Sanders is a jerk because he quit early and you like Megatron, then
yeah,
you have
there's a
issues.
little bit of a
you got to
bit of
it's either gonna be both or neither. So.
right.
So anyway, all right. That brings us to this week's Old Balls.
Old balls.
Why don't we tag team it?
Okay.
We tag team the Old Balls.
Yeah.
God.
You take the left one and I'll take the right one.
There you go. All right. This week's Old Balls is none other than Mr. Dick LeBeau.
Dick LeBeau.
There you go. All right. There you go. Dick LeBeau. All right. Start us out.
Dick LeBeau, he's technically a quarterback, I think, right? Or a defensive back.
A cornerback, free safety. It was a D-back, yeah.
Yeah. What is it? 14 years, I think, for the Lions, his whole career.
14 years. Yeah.
Played 3 decades, 59 through 72. Really, really good player. I mean, 185 games, 170 games started, 62 interceptions, which is nothing to sneeze at.
Mm-hmm.
3 of them for touchdown returns.
Sure.
9 fumble recoveries. One of those for a touchdown return.
Sure.
One of the anchors of. Now, when did the Lions stop being good altogether?
60s-ish.
60s-ish. So he was, coming in sort of at the tail end of their
Prowess.
Yeah. And playing through the 60s and then into the early part of the 70s. But let me see. A couple of times to the Pro Bowl. 1, 2, 3 looks like. And I guess he was a first-team All-Pro. I don't know. I don't have. Oh, let me see. Where's all those numbers? 3 times to the Pro Bowl. Oh, no, first-team All-Pro.
3 was a 3-time second-team All-Pro.
Okay, second team. There we go.
3 times to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty darn good career, especially playing a whole year in Detroit, or his whole career in Detroit. So,
Sure.
All right. What do you got to say?
I got a few things to say. Well, first of all, it's Charles Richard LeBeau.
There we go.
There you go, Dick LeBeau. So, he was out of Ohio State. He was drafted in the 5th round. By Cleveland, actually. Played a year, or didn't play the year in Cleveland. He was drafted by Cleveland. in the offseason, and then he went to the Lions and played his 14-year career in Detroit. But he had a lot of success as a coach too. In fact, he's a 2-time Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers. When the Steelers beat the Seahawks in Super Bowl 40, and when the Steelers beat the Cardinals in Super Bowl 43, he was the defensive coordinator for the Steelers. So he did have a lot of he coached for the Eagles, he coached for the Packers, he coached for the Bengals. Coached the Bengals to he was defensive coordinator and defensive backs coach separately in both times in both of the Super Bowls that they were in when they lost to the 49ers. And he was with the Steelers for years. Back to the Bengals, and he's head coach of the Bengals for 3 years, 2000 through 2002. Assistant coach with the Bills for a year, and then he went back to Pittsburgh, and that's when he won the 2 Super Bowls as defensive coordinator. And he was with the Titans as recent as 2017. And he's 84 years old now, so he was 80 years old. He was still with the he was still coaching. So there you go.
1965 one first team all conference according to the Sporting News.
Sporting News. So first team all conference. Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. There you go.
But his second teams were UPI, Pro Football Writers, and Associated Press. So
gotcha. Cool.
Sporting News gave him a little bit more love in 1965.
He had and he's in Canton, Ohio, of course, is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's born in 1937.
Born in 37.
So which was a much different era, obviously. Sure. But a great player and obviously an excellent coach. So spent his life in football.
Yeah, really good coach. So
he really actually hated football. He was a soccer player, but there was no money in that. So he said, "I'll try this football game." And
try this thing.
Worked out pretty good for him.
Worked out pretty good. Sure. There you go. I didn't put the crawl up. Look at that. There you go. All right. So that's this week's Old Balls, Mr. Dick LeBeau.
Old Balls.
All right. I did. We talked last week. I said that it would be interesting if we had our Old Balls as Mr. George Plimpton.
Yeah.
Mr. Paperline himself. He did get they did give him a where is it? I had it right here. I want to read it correctly. So let me get it out. Where'd it go? Well, he played obviously. He's a writer, George Plimpton, and he one of the things he did was he wanted to get into whatever story he was writing. So, he was writing about pro football, and he wanted to get into it. So he actually
participatory journalism, I think he called it.
Participatory journalism. Yeah, I mean, he Hell's Angels or whatever. He went and lived with them for a while, and it was he did a lot of stuff like that. But he put in when he wanted to play football. He actually decided he wanted to get into like a training camp or whatever, and he wanted to go. His hometown was New York, so he wanted to go get in Giants training camp, and they turned him down. He asked to get into the Titans training camp, which of course obviously we know is the Jets. They turned him down, and he asked the Colts too, and they said no. But the Lions said yes, so they brought him in, and he did a couple things in some inter squad. He couldn't. I think he lost yards on every snap he took in the game. And then, he actually, one of the first preseason game or whatever, they were playing, I believe they were playing the Browns, and they were up significantly in the fourth quarter. So the idea was to put him in the game, an actual game situation. So even if he lost yards, it didn't matter because they were up enough. And the commissioner said, no, it's not happening. Not happening. So he packed up his stuff and left. That was it. He did enough. So there you go. But
Plimpton was a very interesting character, a great journalist, a great writer, and nobody else that I know who said, it's not like he was trying out for the team, but he said, I want to get in there and I want to feel what it's like. And
sure,
I think there was a documentary or maybe just a news story about. I don't remember if the team, probably some members of the team maybe wanted to put a little bit of a hurt on him. But I think he was generally pretty well liked.
No, I think they pretty much all really liked him. And then
if I remember correctly, which is odd because he was kind of an erudite kind of guy. You know,
Sure.
he wasn't. It wasn't a football player. You know what you might think of as. But
Yeah.
I think that the majority of the guys on the team were like, well, yeah, hit him, but don't kill him.
Right. Well, it was Pete Rozelle that wouldn't let him play under any circumstance or whatever. So
But I mean, when they were practicing, there were guys who could have taken bigger shots at him, but could have pulled up. They didn't want to kill the poor guy.
Right. But what they actually gave him before he left, the Lions awarded him a gold football that was engraved to the best rookie football player in Detroit Lions history. So they gave that to him. So, but that was great. But anyway, there you go. So there's an extra old balls for you right there.
There you go.
A little extra old balls. All right. Cool. That's that. You wanna BS a couple minutes about some basketball, or should we wrap it up? What do you think?
I want to just talk a little bit about a couple things in basketball.
Sure, bring it up. I got a couple things we can talk about too, but it might be the same thing, so we'll see.
All right. Well, listen. Klay Thompson came back to Golden State.
Yep.
When Sunday, I think it was.
Yep.
Or no, a couple Sundays ago. Wait,
2 Sundays ago, yeah.
The 9th, I think it was.
Yeah. Oh, that was last. It was last Sunday.
Yeah,
it was last Sunday. Yeah.
Right, because it's Friday now, not Wednesday.
Right, exactly.
So, and they got a win against Cleveland, and then they lost a couple games. One to the Grizzlies and one to the Bucks, and they got pretty badly beaten. Tonight they beat the Bulls, who lead the East by 42. So Klay might be working himself back into the offense.
Yeah.
I didn't look at let me look at the game recap. I don't know what he did here, but let's see.
Let's go to it. Let's go to the game.
Kuminga with 25, Poole with 22, Wiggins with 21 were the points leaders. So he was not amongst the top 3 in points, rebounds, or assists.
Yeah. No, he wasn't.
Well, but
he's working himself back in.
Yeah, he's working himself back in. And one of those teams that I mentioned beat them after he came back was the Memphis Grizzlies, who are looking to win 12 straight tonight and are currently a couple of 4 points ahead of Dallas coming to the end of the first quarter. So, Memphis and John Morant and the crew are coming into their own now, and very interesting to see them in the mix out west now, along with Phoenix and of course Golden State.
Yeah, I mean they're right there. They're a game in the win column. They're one game behind the Suns and tied with Golden State. So
30 and 14, a couple games ahead of Utah. So we'll see if they
can. It's an 11-game winning streak, by the way. They have.
Yeah, they're looking for 12 straight. Amazing what a 12 or 11-game winning streak will do to you as far as moving up in the standings.
A little bit, just a bit.
Well, they were 19 and 14.
Yep.
And now they're 30 and 14.
30 and 14,
so.
Yeah.
And look, Denver Nuggets are 2 games over, and I guess Djokovic, the Joker is getting some more love as far as MVP voting. I saw a story that he's gaining some ground on.
Gaining some ground again, yeah.
Yeah, so
there you go.
And then as far as the East, listen, I don't know. Brooklyn Nets they're still an enigma. I know everybody wants to pronounce them the team to beat until they really start playing consistently like the team to beat. And I know they have spurts, and yes, they're 11 games over 500 or whatever it is. And they're right there, in the mix of things. They're a game and a half back, but Chicago's the team to beat right now. Miami's ahead of the Nets,
Right.
Milwaukee obviously is right there. And the Sixers now are only a couple of games out of it as well. So, Brooklyn is still a very good team, but I think it's time to stop saying Brooklyn is the the favorite far and away. They're not.
No.
Until they play a little more consistently that way.
I agree.
And I
well, let me ask.
Not going to be a walk for them. I don't think it's going to be a walk for them.
I don't
either. Look at what happened last year.
Yeah, exactly. Let's flip it over to the. Oh, did you see the one thing where it said that Kyrie actually can play at home games as long as the Nets are willing to pay the fines for him not being vaccinated. And
no.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that's true.
It's like the first game he plays would be a warning. The second game would be a $500 fine, and then a $1,000 fine, and then a $5,000 fine, and then a $8,000 fine, and then whatever. As long as they're fine with paying the fines, he can play at home. So,
well, listen, I might until it gets up to whatever
$80,000 a game.
Well, until it gets up to around like 50,000, I would say let him play some of these big games.
Yeah. Let him play some of the big ones. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a game that
And then if you get to the end of the season and you've got 10 games left or whatever.
Right. And the Magic are coming into the Barclays Center.
Yeah,
you don't need
to put on
Kyrie.
a run or have a nice good finish to the season. Then you just start shelling out the cash.
Shelling it out. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Flip it over to Garden for a minute. RJ Barrett's been on a bit
fire.
of a tear, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Did you see that? I mean, I sent it to you last Thursday, whatever, with that Celtics tied it up with 1.5 seconds to go. And they inbounded it, and he just put up a three and drained it. And he's that was crazy. That was a great shot. But not just that. I mean, it wasn't just like luck on that. It was just what he's been doing. Like the last 5 games, he's been shooting 50%. 50%. Well, last 5 games he's had 3 games of 30+ points a game. Whatchamacallit. And he's been shooting 50% of his threes. It's been pretty good for him. He's been 22.8, 23 ish points per game. So,
well, look, they're a game out of the 8th spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're 500 now, I think.
They're 500.
They've won more out of the last 10 than they've lost. Let me see what it's. So won 7 out of the last 10 and 2 in a row. And look, I think their Knicks have to come to terms with the fact that they, don't really have a superstar
right
on their
exactly.
team. Let's see.
Well,
look, they've got players coming into their own, right? Obi Toppin is playing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly, maybe has regressed a little bit, but he's still a quality player.
Mm-hmm. What about the trade with the Hawks?
What? I don't know. What happened?
Cam Reddish is coming to the Knicks, and the Hawks get a protected first-round pick and Kevin Knox.
So they get rid of Knox finally.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's fine.
So there you go.
Right?
That's
wasn't he the guy that kept playing last year even though he was terrible?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's good. That's good for them. Well, they've got quality players. Cam Reddish is an okay player, right? But he doesn't play much.
Yeah.
But I guess my point
think that was more about getting rid of Kevin Knox than it was about getting Cam Reddish. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think the Knicks. Hopefully, they've come to the understanding that you can't just lean on Julius Randle, and he's not the same player he was last year.
He's not.
And whether he's a legitimate superstar or partial superstar or whatever,
right.
The other guys are going to have to step up. And
sure,
Barrett was what was he, number 3 pick?
2 was he? Oh, number 3 pick overall. Yeah.
Yeah, overall.
Yeah.
Now that wasn't necessarily. I mean, he was. I don't know, kind of the best of the rest.
Yeah.
If the Knicks had been 2 or 1, they would have taken RJ Barrett.
They wouldn't have taken RJ Barrett. No.
So, but he certainly has potential to blossom into an excellent player. He's an excellent college player.
Sure.
So maybe he's saying, somebody's got to step up here. Somebody's got to lead this team.
Well, I hope he keeps it up. I really do. I think that's awesome. I mean, superstars got to develop from somewhere. They don't come out of college. They don't all come out of college as superstars. Right. There are players that actually develop into, oh my God, he's a great player. He's top of the league. that kind of thing. And he wasn't his first couple of years. So, hey, maybe this could be a case for that. We'll see.
Yeah, look, he's 16, 5 and 2.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are respectable numbers.
Those
are numbers you could put in a mix with some other guys.
Sure, absolutely. So, but we'll see how that plays out. I think we're at right now, right? What do we? We're halfway. 40. Yeah, we're beyond halfway. Yeah, so we're at 42 games now. Most of the teams, anyway.
Let's see, 20, 37,
Yeah,
40. Yeah, so we're
41's
right there.
halfway. So we're at the halfway mark.
Yeah, we're halfway.
Right. So,
And listen, the Knicks are 500 at the halfway mark. I don't know what they were last year, but again, a little bit of a different team.
mm-hmm.
They don't have that surprise of
No. They don't.
I'd be more worried that their defense is not as
The defense isn't what it was last year. No,
yeah,
it's not. Right.
But you want to see them continue to grow, and they're a pretty young team.
Yeah,
right. They're still pretty young
for the most part. Yeah, they are. I mean, but I mean, Mitchell Robinson's back. He's been playing decent, and they had a good week over the last week. They had a good week.
Yeah.
And if they keep it going, they can sneak in. And maybe because you look at these standings. I mean, yeah, they're the 11th seed right now, but they're, like you said, they're one game out of the 8th seed.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you've got Toronto.
And they're only 3 games out of the 6th seed or 5th seed, really.
You got Toronto, Washington, and Charlotte ahead of you, and I don't. With a little more consistency, I don't see any reason why the Knicks couldn't.
Yeah. With the East, the way the East is set up right now, a little bit more consistency. They could be they're in 11th within a week or two. They could be in the top 6.
Yeah.
So.
And we're gonna have the same playoff format this year.
I believe so.
So any top 10, so 9 and 10 are going to be in that play-in game, right?
The 7, 8, 9, 10.
Right. But I'm saying the top 10 teams will be in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, and the play-in game is 7 through 7 through 10.
So right now they're in the playoffs at the very bottom of the list. But,
right.
I don't know. I think, what do you do with Kemba Walker? He's not a great fit.
No.
He's at this point. I don't know what he's been doing the last few games, but he's been okay, right? I guess
he's been all right. He's
not the answer, and he's kind of in the way, I think, of
a little bit.
Right? When you want to see some of these younger guys playing, you want to see Burks out there. I think.
Yeah. They have been rotating, people in from the bench, and that's been getting them, more. Yeah. They've been a couple weeks ago, they were getting more points off the bench than they were getting in the starting guys. So maybe, I don't know what his value is, but maybe Kemba Walker goes somewhere before the season is out. Wouldn't be the worst thing.
No, they'd have to, sort of suck it up and go, yeah, that was a mistake.
Oops. Let's fix this.
But and of course, there's still the question about, was that a Dolan?
Yeah.
Did Dolan fall in love with Kemba Walker and say, go get him?
Right.
Right. And maybe he'll back off. If that's the case, he'll back off and take his fingers out of the pie, and
there you go.
But maybe they'll get something for him. I don't know what their biggest need is.
It depends on who they can. What team's looking for. That piece. He could fit. Kemba Walker could fit somewhere. It's possible.
It's not like he's completely washed up and can't play anymore. I know he's had some injuries.
Sure.
Of late, but he seems to be relatively healthy now. And obviously, sitting him down. The period where Tibbs sat him down, their defense was worse. That was a knock against him more than anything. He can't play any defense, and they were giving up, more points than when they had him on the floor. So
exactly,
technically they're better with him on the floor, I guess. But he's not. He's a piece I think that they could jettison and. Maybe bring in somebody who's not a big name, but somebody who they really like defensively.
Right. So a good defensive, good.
You got a team blocker. That's got some team out there that's got better defense and maybe needs a little bit of scoring. And as you just said, a team where he will fit in, and they're going to give up maybe a young defensive player, and that could help the Knicks.
Exactly.
So they don't have to score quite so much.
Right. All right. Well, we'll continue to watch the NBA season. Obviously, we're going to be talking more and more about NBA, once we get past the NFL playoffs.
Yeah.
At that point.
Hey, listen, the Rockets aren't the worst team in the league anymore. So.
No, this is true.
Orlando's really terrible.
Orlando is this year's
Yeah, single-digit wins halfway through the season.
That's crazy.
Well, this was the next couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, 3 years ago.
That was just 2 years ago.
Yeah,
That they had 17 wins, right?
17 wins. Yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
pretty amazing.
All right. I think we hockey-wise, Rangers are still in the mix. I mean, they're up there at the top with the Lightning. You know,
Where are they in their seasons? They're between 35 and 40 games, except for the Islanders.
they're close. They're close to halfway. They're about a week behind being halfway.
The Islanders,
week and a half.
Oh, no, the Islanders they played 29 games.
Well, they've had a lot of games canceled and rescheduled.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Yeah, Islanders taken a big hit on games being pushed off.
Yeah.
They've played the least amount of games. So, but they have won their last 3. So,
Well, that's good.
so there you go.
And Buffalo still stinks.
There you go. Buffalo's still down. But, Montreal is the lowest in the league right now, though. Canadiens.
Oh yeah, they're horrible.
7 wins. The
Weren't they in the finals last year?
They were not the finals. They were in the playoffs last year.
Who was in the finals? I thought they were in the finals.
Oh yeah, you're right. Was it?
Or was it? Maybe it was 2 years ago.
No, I think that was 2 years ago. I think. But whatchamacallit was in the? Who the hell was it? It was the Lightning and who?
Was it the Maple Leafs? No, it's Montreal.
Was that last year?
Was that just last year?
Holy
Stupid
shit.
COVID.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I can't even think anymore.
Let me look that up.
Yeah, check that out. But the Montreal has 7 wins. The Kraken, brand new team, 10 wins.
Right. Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, the Knights set the bar for expansion teams in
Sure.
the NHL, right? I
Sure.
mean, I don't know if you're ever going to have another team that has that
No.
sort of success right away.
No, not at all.
And let's take a look at the list of Stanley Cup champions. Not up to 1914. Since then, not up to 1926. They have these different eras here.
Oh, you got the errors, yeah. So,
Tampa Bay Lightning defeated the Canadiens
Canadiens.
4-1 in 2021.
there you go. What they were just in.
And now they have
7
wins.
halfway through the season.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah,
I don't know.
But look at the Islanders too. 11 wins, and they were right there with the Lightning in the.
Yep.
Yeah,
They lost
the
in
end
the
there.
semis, right?
In the semis, yeah.
Again.
Unbelievable.
I have no love for the Islanders.
But whatchamacallit? The Rangers 52 points. The Lightning are ahead. They have 55 points, and the Panthers have a point more too. They're 53. But other than that, the Rangers are in the top 3 in the league. So they've been playing good. Good hockey.
I have no love for the Rangers.
I know your Devils are.
Devils are terrible too. Well, listen, they're 4 games under 500. So.
Right. So there you go.
They're ahead of the Islanders, so that's good.
There you go.
Of course, they have 8 more games played and only 3 more wins.
Right.
So I guess that's about.
That's about right. Yeah. It's about. Yeah, so.
They both suck.
Right. Anyway. All right. Anything else you want to wrap up with?
WNBA news?
Yeah, go for it.
No, I'm just kidding.
Anything on the Tampa Tarpons?
I wish them good. So they have a female coach? Is that the deal?
Female manager? Yeah.
All right.
Right.
And I thought I saw something about one of the hockey teams has a female trainer. I think
I saw that.
Yeah.
And then and what's her Caroline? I think her name is. I got to pull it back up. But the Eagles have somebody in the front office, female in the front office, which is actually the highest tiered female executive in the NFL right now. The Vikings are interviewing her for their open GM spot.
There we go.
So there you go. So.
I think it would be good to
Sure.
To have more women involved in professional sports.
Sure. Absolutely.
Certainly in that capacity.
Yeah,
in any
why not?
capacity, really.
Yeah, why not? Absolutely. So, all right.
I guess that'll do it.
Yeah, might as well. There you go. Well, this special Friday night edition, scheduling conflicts on Wednesday, so we had to move it to Friday. But we'll be back next Wednesday with our usual Wednesday show. But we will wrap it up for today on that note. We want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all of our shows are on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night around 7:30 or so Eastern Time. For those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you'll never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great weekend. I'm not going to say rest of your week because it is the weekend. The weekend's here. Watch all of the super wild card weekend football, including the first ever Monday Night Football playoff game. And we will talk to you next Wednesday, folks. Enjoy.
See ya.
Cheers.
I think we should do the second half without Harry every week.
It's good. It goes smoothly. Sorry, Harry.
No, just kidding, man. He's the. I'll say this about him: he's the king of old balls.
King of old balls. There you go. All right. See you later, folks.
I am a